Welcome to the Scam Economy with your host, Matt Bender.
Hello, everybody. That's right, Matt Bender, and this is the Scam Economy post show. And hold on, there is a stream playing in my ear somewhere, and I just thought I paused it, but oh no, I found it. There it is. Yes, I had like another stream just suddenly go live, and so I was hearing things in my headphones, but all is fixed. Hello, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the live episode of Scam Economy with Michael Hayden. I had a lot of fun. I thought it went extremely well, much better than I even anticipated. And I think everyone there enjoyed it, and it seems like everyone watching here enjoyed it. And I hope to do more of those. I mean, it's not going to be a regular thing, but it'd be cool to do it every now and then. Not like hopefully that wasn't the last time. So yeah, phone lines are open. If you have Skype, just type in search Doomed Live. If you don't have Skype, download it and search Doomed Live. I take calls. This used to just be the crypto post show where we would just talk cryptocurrency. And for the first, 8 episodes, I think that's how it was. People just were calling in with their crypto stories. But then everything else happened in the world, and this just became an extended live stream of both shows. I get crypto calls. I get calls about the right wing. I get calls about politics that isn't about the right wing. We talk about everything on this. So whatever you want to call in about, let's do it. Again, Doomed Live on Skype, and we already got a call. Coming in. Let's do it. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Politics that isn't about the right way.
Oh, you got to turn down your stream.
Think you'd take me so quickly, man.
Oh yeah, well you called in right away.
Hello.
How are you doing, Grim?
I mostly type from the phone and watch in the distance from the laptop. So there actually were a bunch of things I wanted to go through with you on Tuesday before the debacle of that debate happened.
Oh right. I mean, I listen. I know you didn't like it, and actually one of the guys on the other show. Apparently, a few people from their audience tuned in to my version of the discussion on my channel, and they stuck around for your call. And I guess they reached out to them and said that my listeners were not happy with it. And the other guy reached out to me and was like, I hope everything's okay. And I was like, yeah, it's just Grim.
Yeah, I try to keep it real. I did actually write something a while ago because, there's, it's not that long of a while ago. I guess last Friday, I was just so pissed about, because it was already starting again. This whole and of course, McConnell's running his mouth about how, it's actually mental health that's the issue with mass shootings. But I want to save that for a second, because I had some shorter little things just to share, just little thoughts following up on things. Just a thought I was having about abortion and the purpose of medicine that I think was sort of, I know I don't want to go back to Tim Pool too much, but I think something that about the pro-life position, I think in some cases, is that there's this misnomer that medicine is about saving life. They kept going back to that. And now, yes, it's great when medicine can save life, but really what medicine is, what it does is it's really about alleviating suffering. And that there are a lot of situations where there isn't anything you can do to help somebody. Especially when we think about end-of-life care, which is usually the most expensive. Yes, maybe there are extraordinary measures that might work, but even then, the main goal of at least, maybe not preventative medicine, yes, can actually save lives. But once you're already in a hospital, the primary goal is to alleviate suffering. If you can save life, great. But the main thing is that people are not in pain, and the people aren't also contagious in public. So I think there's something in that just like, obviously lingually stuck with me. Something else that just has been like coming to mind that I find funny just in language. Again, this is very word game sort of stuff. I don't know when it started, but it seems like for a few years now I've been hearing people talk about, oh, I know it's a big ask, or what's the other one? I know it's a heavy lift, and there's something about that. There's just sort of like Gen X use of passive voice, I think there, and it feels to me like it's a really Gen X thing, and it was sticking to me like, why is this so bothering me? And I think it's because of that use of passive voice that it's not using I statements where I know I'm asking a lot of you. I know this isn't easy to do. And so it's a way to use passive voice to no longer take responsibility for the things that you're asking of, so that you're sort of making people want to volunteer instead of, actually being sincere and asking someone to do something.
Right. No, I think that's a great point about the use of that language. And yeah, it does seem like maybe a Gen X thing. Maybe yeah, no, I think you're right. But I'm willing to definitely hear people who have a different perspective on that, but it sounds like you're onto something there.
But it's just funny. And I think at that, again, if you'll give me a couple of minutes, I gathered some thoughts about this issue with it. Really, it's three things. So it's the cross section of mental health, masculinity, and mass shootings. So when individuals choose to discuss mental health after these slaughters instead of toxic masculinity, their goal is to scapegoat and further terrorize those of us with mental diagnoses rather than deal with the actual terror of toxic masculinity, if not the central component of the Christo-fascist American death cult, the right of men to do whatever they want, whenever they want. Now, the reality is that we, the mentally diagnosed, are more likely to be the victims of violent crimes than to be the perpetrators. However, it is easier for people to explain away these massacres as the work of a crazy person, because then they don't need to conduct any serious introspection at the despicable and rotten society that we live in. They also, wittingly or not, are contributing towards getting these murderers a lower sentence by laying a pretext that they could be found guilty by reason of insanity, when these acts of terror are very clearly, at least often, premeditated and the result of extensive planning and consideration. So instead, all that linking mass shootings to mental illness does is further stigmatize the mentally diagnosed. Moreover, it is an incontrovertible fact that mass shooters are cis men. They are predominantly white, but even more so, the majority of mass shooters are guilty of domestic violence against women.
Yes, that's a major. I mean, and even if they're young and don't get to that point, they're usually already saying and spreading misogynistic thoughts and you know, I mean, the Uvalde school shooter. He there's those he was in a Gen Z social media app. I forgot the name of it. I even wrote an article about it. I can't remember. Yubo, I think it was, or Yabo.
He was sending photos of violent events to people.
No, he was literally. He's literally. There's the people who were in the chats with him. Yubo is called. There are people who were in the chats with him who recorded some of their conversations with him in the group. Like they were like sort of like Twitter Spaces, where like a bunch of people are in the chat and everyone can talk like audio, like you can hear their audio, and he's literally like threatening these like other like 16, 17, 18-year-old girls in the chat with him. Like he's threatening to rape them. literally using like saying that. I mean, it's
Yeah, it's again, it's about it's about masculinity in the end, isn't it? It's about this idea that I'm a man, so I should be able to say whatever I want, do whatever I want. Um, but let me just get back where I was. So also, it is only in the last year that the National Institute of Health gave out grants to study gun violence prevention after being forbidden from doing so by the Gingrich House in 96 after one Arthur Kellerman, MD, and his colleagues at the University of Tennessee published a highly publicized paper in the New England Journal of Medicine that found keeping a gun in the home was strongly associated with an increased risk of homicide by an intimate acquaintance or family member, as noted by the American Psychiatric Association's website. And of course, with the Uvalde shooter, who was the first person he shot? His grandmother. Anyway,
right.
now I would be very happy to see mental health be more broadly funded and destigmatized, because getting more people into therapy would be a very valuable preventative measure for an array of abusive acts. But anyone who only brings up mental health when there's a mass shooting is a disingenuous individual and should be generally disregarded as incredible. Still, waving a hand at vague expenditures on mental health when we don't even have any real public commitment to socialized medicine is easier than imagining an end to toxic masculinity. But we must start recognizing that how we raise our cis men and cis boys is the problem. That's where the evidence leads. And we must absolutely ban assault weapons. There is no good reason for civilians to be armed with these weapons of war. And if people don't want to give them up, send Reaper drones to their neighborhood.
Well, I don't know about that, but I enjoy your
Originally,
your additional color commentary all the time, Grim. But yeah, I think I mean, listen, I mean, I would be happy with just even bringing back the assault weapon ban and instituting a vast buyback program. Listen, doesn't necessarily have to be mandatory or forced, although that would be ideal. But still, I think just getting as many off the street as possible and, making it a rarity so the people who do have them perhaps won't even want to get rid of them and sell them. So they'll just sit in their, in their homes or whatever. That would be
the problem is the grandfathering in of these weapons.
But I just think if we get it, these recent shooters, I mean, I know there have been cases where people got the weapons from their parents, like gun collection, but at least these recent ones, these were all cases where these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, however old they were, they go out to the gun store with their birthday money or the money they were making from their job, and they buy a gun as soon as they're able to, and then this is what they did. So, I mean, if they weren't able to do that, we do know at least these two most recent, and I can't even say that anymore because it's been like 3 or 4 or 5 shootings since, but the Buffalo and Uvalde shooting, they would have been avoided at at least.
Well, yeah, we absolutely should.
And the hospital one, I was reading that hospital shooting that killed like 5 people. The shooter literally went out and bought the gun right there that same day. I mean, come on.
I mean, and then the other issue with that is, of course, the issue that we don't have a federal background check law. It's all state by state, and the states' rights thing has always been a canard by fascists to reconstitute the Confederacy, if not to overtake America, and to remake it in the image of fascism. So we really do need a federal background check law. We need, honestly, probably you shouldn't be allowed to own a gun before you're 25. And yeah, there are just certain guns that are just not appropriate. I mean, I think you might have mentioned it, but I've been, of course, hearing about how the children who were murdered in Texas. They couldn't even identify their bodies. They were so their corpses were so mangled by the force of the bullets in an AR-15.
Yeah.
And I mean, but again, it's a culture thing. It's because we don't see women doing this. We don't see trans people doing this. We see men doing it.
They like to bring
So, of
up.
course-
They like to bring up. I think there was like a case of a trans person actually doing this, and
Okay.
they love to bring it up. They love to bring it up. So I just want to put that out there to make sure we all know that there is a single case that I can point that they can point to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was the lady in the Red Army faction back in the 70s or 80s.
The interesting thing is, before modern day mass shootings, the most famous school shooting was perpetrated by a young girl. I forget which one. It was the one where they asked her why she did it, and she was like, she didn't like Mondays. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, no,
That was
I know the song.
that was
vaguely
like,
remember.
yeah, there was a song. It was a whole big thing. Yeah, the Cleveland Elementary School shooting in San Diego. This was in 1979. A 16-year-old girl, Brenda Spencer, who lived in a house across the street from the school, basically took her, I'm not sure what kind of gun she had, but she took her gun, opened the window, and started shooting people across the street at the school from her home. How many people died at this one? 2 people died, 9 people injured. She used a semi-automatic rifle.
Well,
And when they asked her why she did it, she said, what was, I'm going to get the exact. She answered, "I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day."
yeah, that's a person with very serious issues.
Yeah.
Um,
But this, I want to point out, this was in 1979, and this was because of how unique it was. This was the case that defined mass shootings for decades.
Yep.
I guess I don't quote me on this, but from just my own recollection, I think wasn't until Columbine came along that
exactly.
yeah, I mean, there was a new mass shooting to define what a school shooting is.
Yep. I mean, obviously there is a mental health component. But again, I think by the time you're even talking about that and individualizing it, you're already too late. Because again, it's a cultural issue. Now, one, there's just too many fucking guns. We don't need more guns than there are fucking people in this country. And also, if you really want to go back to the Second Amendment, which is about a well-regulated militia, there's nothing well-regulated about people being able to buy whatever guns they want out of the back of someone's truck. There's nothing fucking well-regulated about that. So if anything, if we want to be strict constitutional literalists, probably people should not have private ownership of guns.
It is sort of
It should be public ownership. And there's maybe a town rifle, what's the word? Like a rifle library. There's a better word for that, where there's community tools, like a community kitchen, where people can come in and just use the equipment. But yeah, probably guns maybe even shouldn't be privately owned. They should be publicly owned. And if you want a gun, you have to sign for one out.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Again,
listen. I think there is. I think it is.
Right.
I think I said this on the majority report earlier today. I'm gonna change my background here just because, so it's a more generic one, because we're not talking about scam economy stuff, which is fine. But if I end up clipping anything, it would make more sense to have a generic background than the scam economy one. But I said this in the majority report earlier, but I generally and broadly understand the idea of leftists who are like, you know what, if we're not going to have gun control, then we should have guns. The left should arm themselves. And I get it in a general sense, in that general idea. And I brought up how, if you're obviously in a rural area and the police or the authorities or whoever could come and And this is not like a pro-police statement, but this is what you do when someone breaks into your home or threatens you with violence or shows up at your house ready to attack you. You call the police, so at least there is some sort of record for any sort of law and legal action that happens. Like, that's how I view it. I don't view it as them coming to save the day. You just need to have it on record legally, the paperwork for any sort of legal ramifications. So that's why when I think that the left bringing up the idea of, if we should have guns to fight back or whatever, it's like, it's sort of like almost I wonder, it's sort of like almost a left wing like Civil War argument that we hear from the right. And honestly, like let's actually think this through. White supremacists show up with a bunch of guns. A bunch of young black men and women show up with guns. The police show up with guns. Who they helping? Which side are they helping? Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, we already know what happened to Charlottesville.
Yeah, I mean,
people from like the Socialist Rifle Association were unable to really do anything, while right wingers were actually discharging their firearms at people in the crowd. That's what happened at Charlottesville. So we have historical evidence of that.
Right. I mean, that's my thing. Like, we're thinking of like these like old school or even like movie cinematic like style like fights or shootouts or something like that. But what's going to end up happening is the left-wing person shows up with their gun and they are immediately arrested by the police and thrown in jail and spend how many years in prison, and their lives are ruined with a federal charge on their record and everything like that. I mean, that's like, because we are, as much as people think, the people who think this live in a bubble. There is no civil war on the way. As split as this country is, it's still the vast majority of people just do not pay attention to the political sphere, like the people who think we're about to go to civil. Like, it's just not happening. The vast majority of people are content right now going about their lives. You know what I mean? Content, yeah. I mean just like doing what they got to do to survive. The vast majority of people are they're just getting by, and you know what? That sucks, but they don't want to rock the boat because they got kids to take care of. They got bills to pay. That's the vast majority of people. They know it sucks, but you know what? They're just getting by, and they don't want to rock the boat. We're not at that moment, and we are nowhere close to it either.
They can't imagine a positive change. They can only imagine that if anything happens, things get worse. Which admittedly, that is the future we're looking at. We are looking at a more and more
to their defense
uninhabitable world.
To their defense too, all these scenarios do require it getting a lot worse, and a lot of those most vulnerable people being the ones who get hurt. I mean, let's pull a hypothetical like the right loves to do, and I'm not going to do a trolley problem, but I'm going to do imagine there is a civil war. Who do you think the right is like going after first? You're gonna have bombings and like attacks on like LGBTQ people, on minority neighborhoods. I mean, we know what's the worst. Who's gonna take the brunt of it? I mean, we know.
But I've sort of had this conversation before, where, how I mentioned previously, like, once the climate catastrophe is actually forcing people to evacuate the coastlines because our cities are literally underwater, who's going to be moving people? The military. And the military is actually not going to stand for there being that kind of civil war. And actually, the phrase that I excised instead of the Reaper drones or whatever I was joking about, the real reality is that what we need is a counterinsurgency against conservatives. Because what we have is not a civil war, but we have this leaderless insurgency that we've been living through for the last 5 or 6 years.
Listen, really all we need is a fucking party and a bunch of people in power to fucking realize the situation we're in and start using the same mechanisms the right uses to benefit them. I mean, it is that simple. It is that fucking simple.
There isn't the political will, because again, both parties are owned by exactly the same people, but owned by the wealthy.
Yes.
So eventually, unfortunately, the only thing I can see changing things is or to put it this way, the best outcome is something equivalent to previous Turkish coups where you had a government that got way out of hand and the military had to step in, depose that government, and eventually restore order, which is usually very hard to get a military junta out of a country, especially a country such as ours. But the United States military can't function without a functioning economy. And the economy also can't function without the safeguard of the United States military. They're what you would call dialectically involved. They're co-implicated. So if the right gets to be, put it politely, as rowdy as I fear, we have to hope, and again, looking at history, successful leftist revolutions usually occur because either that country's military was depleted or that country's military was divided, and the officers and enough of the infantry sided with the quote-unquote left. That's the history on that.
All right, Grim.
So,
we've been on for a little while now. I
This
want to open up for some other people.
yeah, but this has been fun.
No, I mean, listen, I don't know. You know, I mean, I see some people in the chat disagreeing with me, but it's just, I mean, it's just true. It's just true. The vast majority of people, the vast majority of people in this country are just they're not politically active in the way we are. We live in a bubble. Everyone in this, just look at the what were like what's the biggest fucking story in the mainstream in the past? I don't know. It's the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing.
I knew it. I knew you were gonna say it.
Because
I've only just been seeing it the last few days. I'm sick of it already.
Right, but it's the biggest. It's the biggest story.
There's two celebrities who mistreated each other. You know what? There's poor people who do that all the time. They don't get wall-to-wall coverage.
But yeah, and here's the thing too: the people who were watching it, a lot of them were consuming right-wing coverage of it with a strong misogynist hint, and
poor fucking Johnny.
Yeah, but you know what? They don't. But you know what? They don't. But you know what? That's the thing, though. They were fine eating it up because it fed into the celebrity culture. It fed into the. I'm just taking this in. It's something to pass the time. It's interesting. There's nothing the equivalent to that in the political world. So that means, you're just not going to see a vast uprising anytime soon. It's just that simple. It's like you could disagree with me, but like the facts bear me out. The fact that we're not doing it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's
that's
so
why
simple.
I was going to say, like, also, yes, arming people who are stable enough and responsible enough and disciplined enough to keep and bear arms should do so. But there are lots of other things, like the people who, you don't just fight a war with soldiers. You fight a war with supply lines. You fight a war with medics. You fight a war with logistics. So there are all kinds of other preps about being able to weather catastrophe that the left also needs to consider. Now, I'm not saying we should be buying Tim Pool's shit buckets of grain and semi-non-perishable food.
Oh yeah, we should. No, don't get me wrong. We should be ready to get massively active and prepare for massive civil disobedience. Again, though, that is not the equivalent of this like civil war dream that some people seem to have. That's just not what it is.
I mean, this goes back to my rancor with people using the word mutual aid when they should be using the word direct aid. Because mutual aid is when, say, you've had a massive weather catastrophe and you don't have any more public services, so people in the community need to work together to maybe dig latrines, maybe help each other move out the debris of their houses. And so it's mutual aid because you're each helping each other. You know, you go to your neighbor and help clean their yard up, and you go to your neighbor's yard and help clean their yard up. You know, you build a totally new not totally new, but a totally different way of living that is, you know, horizontal, is more egalitarian. But again, where people are no longer as really hate using this word, but no longer is alienated, and actually are living in a real neighborhood. That's what mutual aid really means.
I mean, I gotta say, I know there's just a few people, but I'm getting a little bit distracted in the chat here. Like, Matt, you should be preparing for societal collapse. The signs are there. No, they're not. They're absolutely not. I mean, they're just libertarian crypto fascist rhetoric here. Like, this is not what we should be putting forward as like the socialist or leftist alternative. The same thing,
yes,
but leftist.
This is
but leftist. I mean, no, that's not. I mean, there's a reason. There's a reason that the phrase is socialism or barbarism. It's not socialist barbarism. I mean, this is not.
Well, that's exactly the point. Is that by actually practicing mutual aid, by actually organizing your fucking community, you are actually building a prefigurative politics. You are actually living the system that you want to live. That doesn't mean, again, charity is great, but charity also gives the grace of God to the race of man. And we shouldn't be reproducing that hierarchical relationship where you're dependent on those who have more giving you something. Obviously, the goal should be an interdependent society where we are actually concerned with the well-being of our neighbors. Now, the problem with that is that we live on a dying biosphere. The planet's fine. The biosphere isn't doing too hot. And frankly, if you'd like to know my hottest take ever,
listen, you brought up. I'm sorry to interrupt your hot take, but
no, go for it.
You brought up climate. I mean, excuse me. I mean, if we're talking the biggest catastrophe headed our way, it is climate, and even that we're talking, it's climate change. But even that, which we're talking about, is a gradual thing that's going to happen.
Well,
we're not going to wake up one day and everyone's going to be underwater. I mean, I know it's going to be bad, but again, this is going to be a gradual thing that we're going to have to deal with. I mean, in some ways, that's even scarier, honestly. That we're
that's not. We've been living through the gradual thing.
But that's how it's going to continue. That's how it's going to continue. There's not going to be like the movie 2012, the what's his face, John. It's not going to be. It's not going to be that.
But it will accelerate. It will be accelerated catastrophes.
It's still going to be a gradual thing that happens. The tide is going to rise. This isn't something where you go to sleep one day and the water's out there, and the next thing you know, you're living, in the deep blue sea with the octopuses.
Yeah, no, not exactly. But there'll be, a couple decades where there's a Hurricane Sandy every year. That's a thing we would see first before, New York is like Venice. Again, because the heat has nowhere else to go. The oceans have eaten up as much of it as they can. So we actually had a buffer when we could have been doing stuff for the last 40 or 50 years. We didn't. So, again, this is why I keep trying to say.
Someone in the chat makes a good point here. Adored Pariah. The potential for droughts to drive people out of areas is real too. See, to me, that's the one. That's the point right there. The droughts are the things that will, again, I mean, obviously a drought needs to happen over a period of time, but it could happen quick in terms of a matter of, I don't know, weeks, I guess. A sustained drought, no rain, no water, dampness. I mean, that will drive people to have to move and then we'll have some real, we'll have areas that are just dead,
It's going to be both things at once. There'll be droughts in the interior, but there'll be flooding on the coasts.
Right. The climate refugees, yes, I think that's like the thing to worry about most. And I don't mean like, oh my God, I don't want people taking this the way the right looks at refugees. Like, I don't want them. No, I mean, I want them here, but we're talking about we're going to have real issues in terms of dead, like the areas that they're inhabitable, excuse me, and then there'll be it'll then fuel, I'm sure, right-wing rhetoric and things like that. I mean, hell, I want people to be able to come here if this is the safe haven for them, and they should come here.
I mean, we already are, though. That's what's going on at the border.
That's what's happening, yes, with people, especially from Central America, yes.
There are already droughts there, and a part of it is that we've, of course, been extracting resources, extracting wealth, and polluting the global south. So yeah, they're coming back to get what we already took in the first place.
Yes. But
And
again, I think we're so and this. I mean, I do host a show called Doomed, but I do think we're getting a little bit too doomer here. I do think, I mean, obviously there's a lot to worry about, but I do think,
oh no, we're not
it's
doing that.
what's that?
If you want to give me just not even just a moment, my hottest take. If we look at humanity from the largest view, I don't think any fair and reasonable person could argue that humanity as it is should not be allowed to leave Earth's gravity well. It is better that we die on a dying biosphere than humanity is allowed to colonize space.
Well, I mean, I think the Earth. Here's another thing. Like, I don't like the Earth will be just fine. Earth's gonna be here doing its thing until the sun explodes. I mean, Earth's gonna be here for a long time. We're talking literally just like the attributes and aspects of Earth that encourage and make this place to human life or life in general, actually. But the cockroaches, I'm sure, will continue to find a way, and other various species.
I think even the cockroaches are going to be fucked, but like they'll be.
But here I am saying I don't want to get too doomer, and I'm talking about cockroaches being the last thing roaming the earth. Listen, I actually don't think it's going to get there. Do I think that there's going to be more climate refugees than there are even now? Yes. Do I think the right wing's rhetoric is going to get worse as more climate refugees come? For sure.
Uh-huh.
Do I think we'll get to a point where the earth is inhabitable? I think I do have hope that we'll there'll certainly be places that we lose probably, but I think we'll be able to stop it at some point. I think there'll be a point where young people, I mean, it's going to be a couple decades, but young people will get there, and they'll do something. Millennials, Gen Z, the generations after that, I mean, they're taking it seriously, whereas the older generations aren't. I mean, and they're continuing to take it seriously.
I don't know, Matt. You've seen Soylent Green?
Have a good night, Grim. Thanks for calling in. All right. I didn't want to get all doomer there. Jeez. God. Kowalski says, we will get this figured out in 15 years. I mean, I do think there'll be a point where, like, there's going to be some a catastrophe that is unavoidable. You just can't ignore it. There's going to be something so in your face, not gradual like I was talking. There's going to be like just a city is going to die. I don't mean the people. I mean just it's going to become uninhabitable. Excuse me. And that's going to be a major story. It's going to be big. And I think it's going to light a spark under. And again, it's going to take time. And it sucks that people will get hurt. But I mean, that's probably going to be what happens. And this is just obviously wild speculation. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, bad? It's Omega. What's going on, man?
Hey, Omega, save me from this doomer talk. Or are you calling in to talk more about it?
Well, first of all, I get what Grim is saying on that, but it's like I don't want to go too doomer because the other thing is it's a lot of the situations that's kind of like there's going to be certain tipping points, and there's been cases when like multiple sides of like various arguments would be like, well, we can't ignore this, we got to do something, we got to at least like do one little thing to kind of tilt things a little bit back. And then when it tilts back just enough, then they'll go back to their bullshit again. It's the nature of it a little bit. It's like with COVID relief. It's like they couldn't keep going on without trying to dish out some of it to kind of help, mellow people out, because otherwise people are just going to be freaked the hell out about everything that came with it,
Right.
The
COVID. I know I see someone else in the chat bringing that up. The COVID response obviously shows how we blew it in terms of dealing with something like that. But I'm going to say this, and it's gonna. But just think this through here. The problem with COVID is that, in terms of it being taken seriously, is that it was a disease. It is a virus. It is a sickness that, for the most part, the rich can cure. The powerful can cure. By the time it started to really get around through the nursing homes, which again, when we're talking nursing homes, that's primarily poor and working class old people who have to be put into a home because, old rich people ain't going to a nursing home. They hire help to come take care of them. So once it was done going through those people and workers who were forced to still go to their jobs, by the time I got through all those people, and then it started to get to the politicians and, the corporate executives and such, by that time there was already treatments where basically, you take this right away and the odds of you dying are like very slim. I mean, look at Trump. Remember Joe Rogan on air doing a Instagram video boasting
to the world's dismay,
boasting about how he just had to call his doc and got like 100 different miracle cures that weren't available to regular people. He wasn't just taking ivermectin at that point. He got the Z-Pack or whatever it was called, that really expensive drug that was barely available for regular people at the time. And what was it? The antibodies, the monoclonal antibodies. He got that shit. I mean, yeah. I mean, boom, like that. People, every time I heard a rich person take that, the next day they're back at their job or back on air or back doing whatever, back in the White House like Trump or whatever. I mean, that was the problem with the COVID response. The people who were most affected just simply didn't matter to the people in power. And the way it affected people in power, they had a backup plan to save themselves if they got it. If we were talking about
it was multi-pronged on that respect though, because we got to remember like all the disinformation that came out too. When you had
Ramble Ron brought up Herman Cain. Listen, they had to sacrifice a few people, right? A few people had to be sacrificed at the altar, right? I mean, Herman Cain pretty much died to service Trump. He went to Trump's rally to show, well, this is not too early to hold the rally. I'm going to the Chinese virus. What's that? COVID is nothing to be scared of. He sacrificed himself. He was sacrificed for the cult of MAGA. I mean, I'm not playing the violin for Herman Cain, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's like people got played. Like people like God rest his soul, my cousin, who was made to believe that the vaccine was like for naught and utterly useless, and now his child doesn't have any parents left. And then it's like there's all these other situations where it's like it strikes down some big pillars of people's families or whatever, or in other places, and it's kind of like we can't just like, obviously like a lot of stuff can't easily be measured because there's so many varying factors that factor into it. There's probably people who died and already took all the vaccine. They just had like a freak occurrence where like everything just hit them much harder just because either they got a very particular strain or maybe just their genetics or something like that, or it's some predisposition to something. It's like it's so much that it can't easily be measured now. It will only be measured like in much more like hindsight. Like it's gonna come down to that like over time, and who knows where it'll be by then. If it'll be like the flu or whatever, where basically everybody has to take a yearly vaccine for it. It's like that's what it is, and then we have to like sadly deal with the fact that a lot of other people just like undercut the situation, just like with what Grim was saying. Like so many things just get kicked down the road. Like it was just many cans getting kicked down the road. But we forget how many cans like develop into a whole snowball effect, and then we're like, holy crap, what happened here? How did nobody see this coming? It's like people saw this coming. People saw a lot of these things coming, and they chose to do nothing until it reached enough people. It's like with the AIDS epidemic, George Bush said it was to, punish people. And then when a friend of his died, it's like, oh my God, this is a serious thing. It's like, come on, dude. You knew how serious it was. It's just because it happened to a group you particularly do not care about. And once it reaches enough of these people and the ripple effect is strong enough, then you care. Then they're like, oh, we got to get moving on this. Da, 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 da. It's like, that's just what it is. Not to bring it back to doomers levels and stuff, but it's like, it's kind of what it is. And it just keeps like, and it's a constant situation of like, these people will like ride things that happen that are bad and damn the consequence. They just want their piece of whatever it is that they want. Whether or not it matters once they pass is another story, because, you know, down to who believes what. And then it's like, that's just what it is. Just everybody wants to make sure they die holding on to their piece. Right. Even if like the whole world goes kaput, it's like, well, you know, this all happened, but we made record profits that year. It's like, did it matter though at the end? No.
Right. Well, Omega, I'm not a good doomer, to be honest, in terms of this kind of conversation. I hate the people who opine about an oncoming civil war. I do believe
that's a whole thing in itself.
I do believe that that the climate catastrophe could happen, but I'm even optimistic that, I mean, again, I covered it before. Will there be some sorts of irreversible changes? Probably. But, I don't think that's going to be the end of humanity. It's not going to get to that point. Not because, I don't believe it could. I mean, I think there'll be a point where people, I don't know if you want to say wake up. I just think, as older generations,
there will be enough reckonings to behold, and then people will be like,
and then combined,
we cannot turn a blind eye to it anymore. This is something that,
and we've seen this happen. We've seen this happen.
Do something.
Right. This happens throughout history. This is what happens throughout history. I mean, and also just the simple fact that I do have great hope for younger people. And I say this as someone who's a slightly older millennial. I'm not in the top, upper tiers of age-wise for millennial, but I'm 35, and I do think that millennials and younger millennials and Gen Z and all the generations after that have or will have a much different outlook of all this than everyone from Gen X up, and that brings me a little bit of hope, honestly. Truth, I don't.
Yeah, especially with a lot of these situations happening, and then a lot of people just getting more active, and then not wasting as much time. Because also a lot of the advent of like things like technology and whatnot have made it, like communication technology, especially, have really made it easier for people to be like, let's get together, let's organize, let's do this, let's do that, and let's get going. Because sometimes, I mean, I'm pretty certain a lot of people felt like a lot of people probably were around for like previous instances of like union organizations, were probably elated to see people in Amazon organizing and people Starbucks organizing and that. And I think eventually a lot of people will kind of come to their senses on that, because it's just a lot of this like melting pot of stuff kind of comes in, and then people kind of see what's what.
There's without a doubt. I mean, this is undeniable. Younger people are way more progressive than they used to be, and they're staying that way as they get older, unlike older generations. I mean, I even saw something, and it makes total sense to me. Like, Trump actually helped turn, like the Trump administration, the Trump presidency helped even like push older people, like boomer age people, not to the left, but like, left of center, even more so. And Gen X actually ended up being, as of right now, more conservative, which explains a lot, actually, if you really think about the age range of Gen X and you consider the insane, like, conservative parent movements against, what's being taught in schools and things like that. It's totally makes sense. I mean, as people have kids older, I mean, again, I'm 35. I got 2 kids. Vast majority of the people I know in real life either had kids way after me, or had kids like planned way after me, or then had kids way before me, but like they were unplanned. So like there's like, I'm in this really lonely age bracket of a planned of being like in my age range and having planned to have kids, because people are planning for kids older. And so if you consider that, I mean, Gen X probably has the most kids in school right now. Think about how they're acting and going nuts with all this like shit with CRT and all that stuff. But I recently saw that, Gen Xers ended up being more conservative than boomers. Boomers were like turned off by like Trump's rhetoric because they're into like the civility stuff, which I think is lame. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it if they hate that shit and turns them away from that party. That's fine with me. And but Gen Xers they didn't get turned away by it. They like sort of liked it, and so they became more
it's
and more
some of those
conservative.
things. It's just like some of the right people are in the position to do these things, to tell people this whatever gospel they want to hear that's like Trumpish or right wingish or whatever. It's like when I knew some people that kind of like that you can tell they're still like a bit like out of tune with a few things. Like when I had to explain to somebody how there are people who prefer they them pronouns and stuff like that, they're like looking at me very confused, like, and it's like they're only like a handful of years older than me, like, well, I mean older than you even, and all this stuff, because I'm 32, you're 35, and then like these people are probably like closer to 40 or whatever, and you could really see that it's like the years are turning, but they're not putting it together like in terms of a few things that's kind of like that doesn't fully make sense. I mean, what does that mean? Things like that, and then it's like, and I mean, thankfully they didn't veer off on the whole tension of like, well, what if I want to identify as a dog type of thing, whatever, like what people usually try to say. But it's just a lot of those. Oh yeah, they're just not like they're still kind of in the they're too stiff on the things and not kind of being flexible enough to understand. It's like, hey, look, this stuff exists. These type of people exist. We gotta like acknowledge them and just be, understanding that like they have a plate too and all this stuff.
All right. Thanks for the call, Omega. Oh, and it was nice seeing you. Omega is one of the listeners who came out to the show on Thursday, so he had a full week advanced preview. Not even preview. He got the whole show a week in advance. I hope you liked it, Omega. And I will say that we all hung out a little bit. Like everyone who was on stage and everyone who came who wanted to stick around, we all hung out for a little bit after the show. And I was involved in some conversations, and I look over, and Omega's chilling with my dad. My dad came to the show, and Omega probably talked to my dad more than I talked to Omega on last Thursday.
Yeah. Like me and Ola were totally bonding with your dad. I was like, oh, he's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I was like, oh damn, this is actually pretty nice. And like, you don't realize it until like at night. So I was like, oh, I feel like we really all bonded there. It's pretty nice. In front of that really interesting bar that we had no idea what it was until we were by there. It's like, oh, okay. And so these type of spots, but it's all good. It was a nice like little divey spot there.
Yep. Now, I
pretty
enjoyed it a
chill.
lot.
And actually, all the other shows that were there that night were pretty nice too.
Yeah,
it was pretty entertaining with some of them. The comedian was pretty nice, and the guy with like the video game memes was kind of nice too. It was kind of like endearing. Kind of came in during that point because I came in a little late because I had to have stuff at home. But it was a pretty chill night. Too bad it was a bit late for the after party part, but it's like it wasn't so bad though. I enjoyed the time there.
I'm glad you did. I really enjoyed too. And next time we'll have to talk a little bit more than we did. But yeah, thanks for calling in, Omega. And I guess I'll see you around. I mean, this is I saw you twice in May, right? Wasn't the Majority Report live that I was on? Wasn't that in May too?
That was actually on the 26th, which is very funny because that's
26th of April.
That's like March, which is kind of funny. It's like
wait, that was that long ago.
WCW closed its doors too.
That was that long ago?
Yeah.
The Majority Report thing was in
last Saturday
March? Shut up. No way. Hold on. I gotta look this.
It was one of those weird spring days where it starts off a little warm, but it got colder over time.
Oh my God, it was in March 20. It was March 20. I thought it was earlier that month. I was like, oh, I'm doing 2 live shows in May. Oh my God. What is
this spring went by fast and it's already like boiling hot now.
I'm feeling really weird right now. I lost track of a whole month and a half. God, maybe I'm gonna end the show now and go sit down and try to make sense of my life. No, I'm gonna continue. But thanks for the call, Omega. Have a great night.
Yeah, honestly, when No, the way I look at it is this is like if especially if you have kids, time just zooms on by like a motherfucker. Like I felt like it was well, this is gonna sound kind of morbid, but I felt like it was almost yesterday that my kid was having night terrors because lockdown started and all this other stuff, which is something I kind of brought up like in some chats here and there. And then after like and recently it's kind of like no, she got her report card and she's like at a high reading level and the school year's almost over and all this other stuff and I'm like God damn, man, my kid's almost in the 3rd grade. This is like insanity.
Oh, you have a kid. You have kids too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Oh, just like me. Cool. How old are you, by the way, buddy?
I'm 32.
All
I'm
right.
32. I got like a 3-year-old and I got a 7-year-old and
All right. You
the
started
3-year-old
like
is like super like the most passionate kid I've ever known about dinosaurs or whatever. Like aside from this one dude that I knew that like was super into dinos back then.
you started a few years before me, but we're pretty much in the same range and started this around the same time. I got
Yeah, pretty much.
almost 7-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. It is. But it's that time too, and it's like, and it's a super like. I feel like elementary school does zoom by also just because of the fact
Yeah.
that it's like, like those years seem like a blur to us.
You know what made
But
it?
then to them, it's like,
You it really went by fast with kids. The fucking like staying indoors almost all the time. Pandemic years,
Yeah.
like 2020 and 2021.
the remote learning.
Those 2 years, honestly, I sort of felt it was going to happen too, and I was like, you know what? I was lucky enough to be someone who was able to work from home,
Same.
and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna actually like this is like a once again putting the pandemic the threat of the pandemic aside, the part about being home with your kids 24/7 for that long, I was like, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity to like bond with my kids in a way that will never present to me ever again. And so like I really did try to like felt like it went by fast.
Yeah, honestly, it was one of those cases like you learn a lot of your kids' quirks or whatever as like they get older, and then you also start to bond over like enjoying the same things together. Like, and it's kind of funny. It was just so weird because like I was just thinking about like how so there's a dining room table which kind of turned into like a desk for me now, and I have my laptop propped up there, and there's this desk next to mine, and that's where my kid used to have her remote learning over there with their class. So it's kind of like funny how like we'd basically be sitting as if we were in an office together, and then she'd be like doing her schoolwork, and I'd just be like typing away at work or like doing tech support or answering my phone like when people
Right.
like need help or whatever. It feels so weird, but like thankfully the school's like very close by, so it's not an issue if I'm home or if I'm in the office, which I work in an office on occasion too, but in the week, but like at least it's not a big deal because that office is not very far away. So it's like, hey, at least like everything's close enough that like if anything happens, I could come home. The wife can zoom on over to pick up my kid, or she could just grab my youngest and then just pick up my kid or whatever, and then it's all good. Things like that. So it's like,
Right.
man, thankfully I had a few of those things. Very, very lucky, and I live in a part of the city that's like a lot of stuff is kind of not too far from each other. So yeah, got to enjoy that part of it. That you got to take the good with the bad, but like I think a lot of parents in some ways are grateful that they got to like get closer to their kids, and maybe their kids kind of more like understanding of the do's and don'ts and the why and the how about a lot of things, and the parents at least were able to kind of like probably get through their kids better too on a lot of things.
Right. Thanks for the call, Omega, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Take care.
All right.
We were bonding there over our parenthood, I guess, our fatherhood, right? Damn, man, I feel old sometimes, but then I also feel young when everyone tells me. Sometimes I see in the chat or whatever, it's like, oh, Matt's young, he has plenty of time. I was like, I'm probably older than you. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from? Whoa, I'm gonna bring him up on the feed. He's not on the feed yet, ladies and gentlemen. We have a Boogaloo boy calling into the show.
Dang. That's actually that is a good one. I did not think about that.
I got you, Kowalski. I got you. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah. Oh, not too bad. I got a new Hawaiian shirt, so I wanted to show this thing off. But um, I wanted to compliment you and Lance on Tuesday. I thought you guys did very well in your I don't know if that was a debate or just like an educational experience for those guys' audience.
Yeah, I mean, they were
Regardless, it
up
was
up it was
decent.
they were very non-combative, very nice in terms of their way of discussing. So I thought that was good and interesting. And again, I mentioned this 100 times. Not gonna go through it again. All but one portion of that discussion I thought was productive. That specific portion on trans people, I could have totally done without, because of how it went and what its purpose was, which really was no purpose. But yeah, I thought it went. I thought it was interesting, honestly, and I thought it was educational.
Yeah, they I really feel like they just weren't willing to meet any like points on the trans topics. Like wholesale stop if I ever like get into
I mean,
that conversation with someone.
here's the thing, though. I mean, they were, but they weren't acknowledging it. Like, just you saying that you respect them as a human being enough to use their preferred gender pronouns if you were to interact with a trans person in person. I mean, that's something that a lot of conservatives are not willing to do. I mean, you do have to
Yeah.
look at them, and it was weird to me that they weren't sort of acknowledging that. Like, they just, I mean, it is an acknowledgement of some sort that they are, I mean, that you want to respect them in some way. I mean, it's more than a lot of conservatives would do. I mean, I know that there are conservative trans people who go on like Ben Shapiro's show and get misgendered regularly on purpose in front of who's supposed to be their conservative ally, and they just and that's supposed to be fine. You know what I mean? Like, that was interesting to me.
Yeah. I guess my whole point on that is like they're always like say save the children, and it's like, well, recognizing these people's identity is like the number one way to prevent like self-harm. So like just like a sheer sign of respect and basic humanity. But that, and you also just like realize at a certain point that these people think that like those are just like it's like putting on a shirt. You can just choose to be those people, I suppose, and that's not really how your identity works. You can't really pick and choose that kind of stuff. So um, sorry if I sound a little off. I actually did get COVID back on Sunday, so I'm like
You got it back?
on the I got COVID back on Sunday, positive. First time I've ever had it.
I thought you were like trying to
It's
say
been
like
annoying.
I was trying to say like you got the same COVID you got before, like it came back.
Oh.
I was like, that's a thing? I mean, I know you could get it again, but you
No.
got like the same one? Like it was always
Dude,
there to
my
just like
roommate has gotten it like 5 times.
Wait, you
This
have
is
you
the
have a
first time
roommate?
I've gotten it.
You have a roommate?
Yeah, I've got two roommates, my sister and her friend.
Oh, I mean, that's your
So,
family, right? You live on your family farm, no?
yeah, my
Okay.
sister and I live in our old folks' house, and then we rent out one of the rooms to one of her friends. So,
I mean, that's an interesting way to say roommate. I mean, it's the family farm, but it is technically a roommate. There's not the usual roommate. Living in New York, the usual roommate thing is you're both renting the same apartment in some big ass building.
oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's a 4.5 bedroom house with 3 living rooms. We better have more than just
3
two
living
people living here.
rooms.
That's a way. It was a weird thing my parents did when they made this house. It's a lot of space,
And how
and they
many
put
bedrooms?
plants everywhere. Huh?
How many bedrooms?
Oh, there are 3 living rooms, which is weird, but there are 4 bedrooms, 2 of which are
Wait, so
master
then why do you
bedrooms
have
with their own
roommates
bath.
then? Why do you have roommates?
Well, we still have to pay utilities, taxes,
Wait, but
and all the rest.
each of
So,
you have your own bedroom, right?
yeah,
Okay.
we each have our own bath,
Okay.
and
Well, I just want to put it. I wasn't imagining a scenario where you, your sister, and your sister's friend were all living in the same, like we're all sleeping in the same
no.
bed, like, like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory status. No, I was thinking
No.
like maybe
That's
like
funny.
I don't know what I was thinking, but it wasn't that.
Oh. Now we've got a lot of. Actually, this is technically a bedroom, but it's my office, so like I can do whatever the hell I want in here, which is
Right,
nice.
you can't, all right, you can't say you have roommates if there's enough room in there for one of you to have your own separate office space. I'm sorry, you guys like are housemates or something. You can't say roommates. I'm sorry.
Oh, maybe housemates is a better word for that. That might actually, you know what, vernacularly speaking, that makes a little bit more sense. But to get a little bit back on topic, when you and Grim were talking about like firearms and their uses and whatnot, like how people should have them, I'll agree that your view on like maybe people in the countryside having them for like home protection makes sense. You know, law enforcement would be a ways out. However, I do think that like communities that have good social cohesion, like you know, block parties, everybody knows each other, everybody, you know, babysits for each other and whatnot. Actually having like a few people who are armed might actually make some sense, especially if you look at like what happened during the BLM protests in like Portland. Oh, I mean, a lot of people from the suburbs showed up in pickups, trucks to try to intimidate the community. And I mean, if a community is armed, the police and these militia guys would probably back down. And I don't think that like we're nearing some sort of like societal collapse. But I mean, in order to restore order to the U.S. Capitol did require the National Guard coming in and pushing the rioters out. So my view on this is that if you actually do feel like your community isn't safe and you will have to wait until the National Guard comes in to put the police and these militia guys back in line for like normal social processes, maybe having an armed community that is well connected and everybody knows each other is probably your best deterrence. Because I don't know, like these guys are pretty sketchy and they think they're saving the world, and they literally are just running around with guns and are being a nuisance. So I don't know if that's something that you've seen or think it has merit or not really.
No, I mean,
because I mean, like these guys are armed and they're not giving up their weapons. I mean, they are dangerous thugs.
I mean, it's you're basically describing a version of like you know, mutual aid in terms of like rallying around your neighbors if one is you know, one gets attacked or threatened, and you strengthen numbers. Yeah, I mean, but of course, I'm also thinking of scenarios where like that's just not even that big. I'm sure there are places. I mean, you would probably know better than me. I live in the city. You live on a farm. I mean, there's got to be places where like your closest neighbors are still miles away.
Yeah, I'm miles away, but I'm pretty close to the town. Like, there was a huge emergency. I mean, it would take them like 5 minutes to get here. A lot can happen in 5 minutes, but I mean, like, just an issue we have out in the countryside. People from town show up and they tear up our dirt roads because they're out doing like cookies and stuff. Like, neighbors call neighbors in order for somebody to, you know, figure out who it is, get a license plate and report them, so they stop doing it. Like, just having your neighbors, you know, and everybody can find the people who are like, you know, dumping trash and stuff like that. But I mean, like, the best way for, I think, in order for like a community to be safe is obviously with that social cohesion. However, without like some sort of weapons as a deterrence to these people, like, I don't know, the BLM protests really showed me just how far a lot of those reactionary folks from the suburbs will go. And I bring up suburbs, not necessarily the countryside, because like most of the people in the countryside are just too busy all the time. They like, even if they were in the same like mindset of some of those, they just don't have the time to go halfway across the country. It's more of an upper middle class, like wealthy suburban type thing. Like, everybody else is just too busy.
Right.
Which I think actually goes to like your view of how like 99% of the country does not really follow politics because, well, they're busy. So, but yeah, when it comes to guns, oh my God, I'm about to lose my voice again. This is
you sound fine.
How
Kowalski.
long did it take? How
What were
long
you
did
gonna
it take your voice to recover?
From when?
Oh, when you got COVID, or did you not get really like
Oh no,
winded? Because like,
my voice was fine. The worst thing that happened to me was my back, and then I got sciatica really bad. And I still
ooh,
actually it still flares up every now and then since COVID. Like there was that the Thursday that I after I found out I got COVID. I think it was that Thursday, or maybe it was the Thursday after. I can't remember, but one of those first Thursdays, I was getting ready to do the majority report, and my back just fucking went out. Like I just moved something, and I never felt a pain like it before, while I still had COVID. And literally, I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do the show that day. I literally could not move. My partner had to go run out to like Rite Aid and get me like a huge tub of like icy hot just so I could like get over to my computer and do the majority report. It was really bad, and yeah, that was what happened to me. That was my COVID story. I lost my taste for a while. Couldn't taste anything. That's how I knew I had COVID. The tasting. I never actually got tested. My whole family did except for me. By the time they all got tested and they all came in back positive, I was like, and this is back when like the home test wasn't widely available. So I was like, why am I going to go out of my way and get tested? I clearly have COVID. I can't taste anything. 3 out of the 4 people in my home, me being the 4th, tested positive. I have it. I don't need the positive test.
yeah, I did take one of the tests because for me it could have been either that or like occasionally I get like seasonal allergies really hard that'll trigger like an ear infection, and some of those symptoms are fairly similar. But nope, COVID, and I had to work the entire time. And let me tell you, operating heavy machinery while you're extremely fatigued seems extremely dangerous, but nobody seemed to care. They were just like, get our stuff planted. We're running out of time.
Right.
Although at least I could isolate myself, being away from everyone and not having to deal with people. Like I do feel really bad for like teachers who are basically forced to go to work sick and are exposed constantly and have to deal with people every day. That would be like my worst nightmare. So, but yeah,
let me ask before you go, Kowalski. Why are you not out in the tractor today?
because I'm finally done with replant. We had a cold front come through here about 10 days ago, and it froze a lot of bean fields, and they had to be replanted. So none of my bean fields for neighbors. So I got volunteered to go plant a bunch of fields about 45 miles away. Fields I've never been to, but I got it done finally. And now I'm home and I can, watch you guys talk about, cryptocurrency and all the rest in peace in my house while eating pizza.
Yep, you could.
Which is all I want to do.
Here. Get home, sit back, relax, turn on your your YouTube, and watch me live stream a conversation where Grim is telling us that we're all gonna die. Real relaxing.
Oh yeah. Well, to make Grim feel a little bit happier, I suppose. Don't think that like the U.S. government hasn't been planning for climate change. No joke. The United States Navy has basically pointed out that climate change is its #1 adversary since about 2005. It's really funny too, watching like the admirals make fun of Ted Cruz at those Senate hearings. But like, functionally speaking, I think a lot of states are actually already preparing for a lot of these things. Even Nebraska, like, yeah, none of our politicians say it, but like half of all the budget planning we have is all for water conservation at this point. And it goes a little bit beyond just like the normal, like hunting, like needing to keep water around and for agricultural use. Like, they're preparing for it as best they can. It's just like until we get the entire nation behind it, it's not going to do much. Like they're basically just preparing for impacts, not really like getting ready to solve anything, which is frustrating. But like also the Western Hemisphere, we don't even have 1 billion people total. We have like a third of the world's water resources. We have plenty of arable land. We're literally on the safest corner of the planet. Like, there's no danger coming our way. What's really going to be sad is if the United States chooses to go into isolation, which would drag the entire Western Hemisphere into isolation, and we leave the rest of the world to burn. Which, I mean, given how the way we're going, but let's just hope we don't do that, because that would be like just a crime against humanity, in my opinion. We created a lot of this problem. We need to solve it, and we can solve it. We have resources and the tools to do it. It's just getting everybody to do it. But I've taken up like over 15 minutes, so I'm gonna hop off before we go too much into that. So
have a great night, Kowalski. Always a pleasure. And
oh yeah,
don't kidnap the. Oh, we lost Kowalski. I was gonna tell him don't kidnap the governor of Michigan with his other boogaloo boyfriends. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Very cute. Don't kidnap the.
Hello, you are on the air. You have to turn down your stream. You are on the air. Hello.
Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
I think they don't realize they're on the air.
You are on the air. You have to turn down your stream.
Hello?
Hey, that's you. You're on the air. How are you? They hung up. What? I waited and everything. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from? And they hung up too. Are you kidding me? Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from? Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Is this Dave from Jamaica?
Yes, this is the rare Dave from Jamaica. No
Ooh,
video because I don't got no shirt.
Ooh, a rare Dave from Jamaica. It's like the NFT Dave from Jamaica.
Yeah.
Put you on OpenSea. Yeah. What's up, Dave?
Well, I've been kind of a Debbie Downer, so I wanted to give a little positive anecdote, but I'll throw some other stuff before.
Is your positive anecdote going to be, I threw some money into DraftKings after talking with Emma and I won big? Is that going to be?
I wish. But no degenerate gambler Dave today.
All right.
I guess I was going to kind of buff out Kowalski's point. Like, I was saying this before, that the developed nations have the resources and the industrial base to deal with some of climate change. Depends on how bad it gets, right? But the rest of the world, what I think folks in developed nations need to do is to kind of try to prevent the fascists from taking over. So when the rest of the world migrates to the developed nations, they will actually welcome them because that would be the humane thing to do. That, or somebody figures out how to recapture a shit ton of carbon in a very short time. But off of that, well, sorry, there's so much shit to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. Yes, there's a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you're doing, your approach, I think it is working because you're not really giving in I won't call it debate because it's discussion at the end of the day. I think the discussion approach should try to fish some people out of these right-wing environments, and hopefully, because I'm a big believer in environment dictates behavior. I know it's kind of anti-agency, but I'm not a very big agency person.
I think you have a point, and that's why I sort of do it the way I do it. I mean, listen, I mean, also I play to what I think my strengths are. Like, if I think Sam Cedar, for example, is very good at like just making someone look really dumb. But obviously that has its limits. Like on the Majority Report, when it's a libertarian caller, that's perfect. It's for his audience. But if you have another audience, that might not work. That's what I sort of think. That's why I sort of go about. Like, I mean, let me tell you, all I've heard for the vast majority of people in terms of that Tim Pool thing. Sure, there's some of his biggest fans who oh, he owned you. But like the vast majority of people I would say said, I thought he who reached out to me, at least, probably not the vast majority altogether, but the vast majority of people who reached out to me said, I thought he got really angry and he was getting upset, and you kept your cool and you kept it respectful. And I know I don't care about the civility thing personally, but other people seem to do, especially in that audience. So if you're trying to reach them and just get them to listen to you and consider you for consider what you're saying for a minute. That's one way to get them to at least take a minute to listen,
Well, it does kind of, I think the goal is, as I said, this is not a political strategy per se, or I shouldn't, this is not an election strategy. This is a very long-term, long game thing, because out of those people, and of course you're going to minus the the rhetoric fetishists who are not really interested in the argument. They're just interested in whose rhetoric sounded better. But you want to inspire some kernels of doubt. So hopefully that later on will bloom as they kind of crawl out of the right-wing type of talking point stuff. Because now that you remind me, think of Joe Rogan stuff. Like when a lot of this stuff where you see people criticizing Joe Rogan, right? This comes from his own Reddit, right? A lot, like when he's making weird pro-business bootlicking arguments, right? And these are former fans of his. When they're hearing his rhetoric, they're like, what the fuck's going on, right? And I hope long term, I hope a lot of these guys can kind of, with folks like you, take time and kind of dig themselves out of this hole they found themselves in. But it's a very long-term thing. Or do you think I'm right on that one? It's not really an election strategy, but it's a very long-term de-radicalization type of strategy.
Yes. I just want, and I got it. I can tell you, I got it. I just want people to, at least at least a few people to just say, hey, I'm going to check this channel out. Or, and I don't even mean I'm not going to, check this channel out along with the other channels I usually check out. Or B, and when I mean channels, I don't mean like solely for the reason, I don't even care if they listen to me. They listen to any other, leftist content, or just read like Jacobin, or or listen to a leftist podcast, or read a leftist author or something like that. I don't care personally. This isn't a. This isn't a. I mean, nice to see my subscriber count go up, but I don't really. That's not. the point.
No. This is not an accusation of that. I know you're not about that. So.
No, and I mean that's the win for me. Or in the case of just like, listen, just realize the type of content you're consuming. That doesn't work so much for all conservatives, because a lot of conservatives are proud to be conservative on their conservative talk show, and a lot of their fans are right-wingers as well and proud of it. But for a specific YouTube set that pretends they are not right-wingers but straight up disseminate right-wing content all the time, I do think they fool a number of people in their audience into thinking they are not consuming right-wing content. I mean, the right-wing channels did it. I hate to bring it up again. It's the last thing I want to talk about right now because of the reactions you get from bringing it up. But look at how the right-wing disseminated content around the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. I mean, people were consuming that shit without realizing they were consuming straight up anti-feminist right-wing content.
I think with that particular trial, and I'm just talking about the tactics that the right-wing are using, I do agree with you. I think a lot of people got their information from the trial from a very biased source, and
absolutely
the
just see the things that people are saying. And these exact things that people are saying, oh, it was never proven in the trial. Yeah, you have to pay attention to the UK one to hear what was allowed in the UK trial. There were tons of things in the US trial that were not allowed to be presented, that were presented in the UK trial, that led the judge to rule against Depp in the UK.
Well, I'm not sure you agree with my take on it, because I watched I didn't watch all of the trial, but I watched the trial itself. And when it comes to domestic violence and stuff, it's very messy and it's confusing, and people understandably want clear-cut answers, right? Who's the villain, who's the victim, and so on and so forth. And at least from my experience, personally, because I used to have a girlfriend who used to hit me when I was younger and stuff. It's a very, how can I say it? It's not, we don't have perfect victims, and we don't have.
I mean, that's exactly.
We don't have.
That's why
100% evil abusers all the time.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why the right looked at this as a perfect propaganda machine. She is by far not a perfect victim by far. She is far from it. And they thought it was and then of course the fan base for Johnny Depp adds another whole layer to it. And so they were like, this is great. This is perfect. This is the exact one we're going to I would not doubt it for a second if people who consumed that trial end up reading get funneled into reading more right-wing content from like the Daily Wire
100%.
and shit. Yeah.
But the thing is, I guess I have a different view. I think it's the other way around. Who's the victim and the abuser? But my nuanced look on it is, at least, and this is purely anecdotal, most women I've known who are friends or whatnot have been abused at some point in their life. And I'm pretty sure Amber Heard before Johnny Depp was probably abused as well. That's how pervasive the abuse thing goes. So, as I said, in that particular case, I think she might have been the abuser, but it's not kind of clear cut. She's not a villain in my eyes. If you get what I'm saying.
No, I think there's evidence that shows that they had a very toxic relationship, without a doubt, coming from both sides. But there is clear proof that
but that's.
I mean, there were
photographs
and evidence presented in the UK that clearly, the judge ruled that her claims were. He believes her claims in the UK, and that's why he ruled against Depp in that case. I mean,
well, I think.
I want to point out to people who think I from the celebrity trial standpoint, I don't really like. The whole idea of televising trials is something that I think in general is I'm conflicted about, because obviously I think transparency is great, and in a perfect scenario, televising trials brings people a greater understanding of the criminal justice system and or just the justice system in general. In this case, it wasn't a criminal case; it was a civil. And it should we should be able to have this on record in terms of like how these things go. But Americans being Americans take this shit and turn it into reality TV. And like dramatize it and fictionalize it as if this isn't the lives of two real people. I know they're celebrities, but they're still human beings, and it gets treated like it's it's like must-see TV or some shit like that, and that's disgusting. And that's why I'm conflicted about the idea of even televising this shit. But I don't care about it from a celebrity standpoint. I care about it from the standpoint of what it means to people who are abuse victims, and how it was used to basically propagandize from the right wing.
Exactly. That was my concern, because even if you think whoever you thought was the abuser, right? It's turned into, as you said, it's propaganda now for the right wing. Like, women be trifling or whatever kind of bullshit they kind of turned it into. And I remember the thing I forgot to say. Regardless of who you thought the abuser is, Johnny Depp winning that thing makes absolutely no sense, because the statement is so vague.
People are getting caught up by him. People are getting caught up in the domestic. This wasn't a domestic abuse trial; it was a defamation trial, and that vague sentence that doesn't point any finger at anyone. The vague thing she wrote in general. I don't want to belt it down to a sentence because there was a few more things. But it was, it only came out who it was actually about at the trial. I mean, I think it's a very bad precedent, honestly. And,
horrible.
Yes.
Because look on it. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm a crypto bro, and you say crypto is a scam economy, right? And I sue you because you personally attacked me, David Russell, crypto, bro. That's the slippery. That is basically what because she said
it is of my opinion that cryptocurrency is a scam.
Right. And then I sue you because I think you saying that personally defames me, even though you didn't name me. It is insane. As a defamation suit, he shouldn't have won by any stretch of the imagination. No, I guess my issue with the trial in England is I think it was more a suit against the Sun. And I think you would agree with me. The Sun is a pretty disgusting rag in general.
It's easier to win a defamation case though in the UK. That's how
100%.
So the fact that he lost in the UK just shows like it's if there's anything to take away from it, it's that how easily juries are swayed by public opinion and media coverage. Zero doubt about it. Have you seen the story where one of the jurors was allowed to stay on the jury after it came out that his wife texted him about how Amber is a psychotic bitch or something like that, or Amber is psychotic or something like that? I mean,
doesn't the defense have the ability to pick in these trials too? What went wrong? What's going on here?
They allowed the juror to stay on. I mean, it's a clear case no matter what you think. It's it's right in your face. Your opinion aside, we have a case in the UK where defamation's easier to prove, a loss for him when it's in front of a judge. A case in the US where it's harder for him, he wins when it's in front of a jury. I mean, it doesn't matter what side you take or what your opinion is of who tells the truth or not. These are the facts about what happened in the trial. Taking away what the trial was about. These are the facts on how the trial ended up. The judge and a jury,
another reason why
US, UK.
I think
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Oh boy, you broke up. I don't know. I hear you in the chat here.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay, so go ahead, and let's move on to something else too. If you have anything else you want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. You must be tired of this shit.
Yes.
But, so here's a positive anecdote. It's just one dude, but I was at work, and the boss, she's a very religious lady, and she was she's transphobic. It's Jamaica. So we're not very pro-LGBTQ. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. But so the boss was saying she was worried about, kids being raised by gay people or transgender people and all of that. So I was overhearing this, I ain't into kind of debating that stuff because it's more, I can't bother with the grief of it. But funny enough, we had a contractor there and he does electrical work for the mine, right? You wouldn't expect, right? He carries a Glock, concealed carry, all of that, it's construction, shady shit. But he was like, I don't know. That sounds kind of bullshit. I was like, what? He gave me a shock, right? This is kind of, it would be the equivalent, like the most conservative looking person saying something pro-LGBTQ. And he was basically saying, like, if his son was gay, he would hold his hand in public, and if anybody gave him shit, they would have to deal with him and his Glock. And I was like, what the? So I had to back him up. So I was like, yeah, come on. And I was like, we're talking to the lady. I said, well, if there's gay parents, they'd be raised gay. And I'm saying, when I was growing up, nobody had to convince me I like girls. So how can you raise somebody to be gay? It's kind of nonsense.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I said this I actually said this on Tuesday in that discussion / debate where I talked to Sitch and Adam with Lance from the Surfs. If being gay was something that like you were peer pressured into doing, then how is like the vast majority of people on the left not like turning gay? Like, how did I not end up like?
We're not all gay by 2050?
Yeah,
Bill
let me tell you, I can't even pretend. I am not even bi. I am as straight can be. I can tell you. And, it's who I am, and nothing could change that. That's the thing. If people are born bi, if people are born gay, if people are born trans, that's who they are. And that's how it is. No one just turns into that down the road after they were convinced. No one ever goes like, you've laid out the benefits of being straight. You've laid out the benefits of being gay. And I've decided I'm going to be gay. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't work like that.
Yes.
But, so it gets even better now. So as we're discussing, and as the guy was saying, if his son was gay, anybody giving him shit, what, right? And we were actually, she kind of backed down and softened her position because, like I was saying, I have gay cousins and they have kids and nothing's wrong with them and they're happy and healthy. And I think I'd say my boss is generally a kind person at heart, even with the transphobia. And I think it gave her pause, and she began to reconsider, right? And I'm saying, well, it's not the changing of the world, but it's a little positive story at the end of the day, subverted expectations and whatnot. And, I think it was a gentle enough challenge that she began to kind of, maybe I need to rethink some things, right? So it was, I was pleasantly surprised, at least from that. I know it's not the biggest positive story in the world, but coming from my experience growing up where people would say, hey, this guy for dead in songs and all of that shit, that was a pleasant surprise to me. So I had to back him up.
Hey, so I mean, it's a very small concession, but
small.
It is nonetheless. I mean,
you take them where you get them, man.
Yeah, and also it is Jamaica, and I know that there is a much different culture around that sort of thing there, unfortunately, like you even said. So yeah, I mean, you have to take that into consideration too. We'll take what we can get, right? Hopefully it progresses even more, but we'll take what we can get.
No, it's true. But yeah, so outside of that, I don't know. As you said, it's very small, but some reason it just made me feel good in a very dark situation.
There you go. Hey,
generally speaking.
All right, Dave from Jamaica. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, Matt.
Have a great night. Thanks for calling in.
Same to you, brother.
All right, let me see. This caller who tried to call him before asked me to call them back when I was ready. Here we go. Let's see if it works. Hello.
Hi, Matt.
Hi. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Okay, my name is Samantha. I go by Sam.
Hey, Sam.
And I'm calling from. I live in LA. I'm calling from LA.
Ah, is it nice there right now? What are we talking weather-wise?
Yeah, it's kind of hot right now. It's like in the, I don't even know. It's like, it was really hot today, so I think it was in the 90s.
Oof. All right. Here it's what is it here? It's like, I think in the 80s, I want to say. It's no, it's not. It's just really hot in this room, I guess. It's 66 here, but it feels hot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was really humid during daytime.
It is humid, yes. What would you like to talk about?
So I wanted to talk about the climate crisis because it was kind of a good conversation to follow up with what you and Kowalski was talking about.
Yeah, sure.
So I just want to, I feel like a lot of leftist channel. First of all, I loved your show. I think you are awesome. I think you are very open-minded, and you always, like I think a few podcasts ago or streams ago where you basically said we should always be looking for change, for progress, to make change, to improve whatever it is, because I think that you were talking about COVID, and you were talking about how a lot of people are just unwilling to change, think that we're going to go back to normal, but we really need to adapt to making changes for the environment, right? So
that was a while ago. Yeah, I can't remember, but it felt. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was more than a couple of weeks ago. Maybe a month or two. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to call in at that time because I really wanted to talk about the climate crisis, because I feel like a lot of leftist channel will kind of first of all, I think a lot of leftist channels don't talk about it enough, and then when they do, it's kind of like just doomer and not really going
Yes.
deep dive and suggesting what we can actually do
I hate
to take
it.
action.
I hate it.
Yes.
And then on the
Yes.
majority report, when I'm on there, sometimes we get the complete doomers who call in saying like they're not going to have kids because of climate change and and it's like what? That should not be the leftist position. No. If you don't want kids, period, then by all means live your life how you want. But if you want kids, don't let that stop you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the problem is not population, right? It's the resources, how we generate and produce resources. Like the consumption side, and also the capitalism side is what's driving us to the ground, literally. And I just want to specifically talk about the food system, like with a respect to like food justice, because I feel like not enough people kind of talk about like, we want to make changes, and we always focus on fossil fuel, but not enough people focus on like the food system, like individual changes such as, going plant-based, being vegan, and that would dramatically, push the movement forward to, to helping fight climate change. There's so many reasons to go plant-based or to go vegan, but people can only really just come down to one reason they don't, is because of taste of food. They like the taste of meat, right?
Right.
So I
will
really
say I'm not the best person to talk about it because I'm a meat eater.
Yeah, I know. Listen, 95% of the population eats meat, and the entire population is programmed to eat meat. You see commercials, you see advertisements.
We're also, I don't even think programmed in like externally. I mean, that's the human nature. That's how we have the teeth for it, right?
Well, see, that's not so. This is good, right? Because you're giving me all the arguments what a carnivore would say, and about the strongest animals, like rhino and gorilla. They're herbivores, and they have really big teeth.
Sure, but I mean also lions and tigers, right?
Yeah, lions and tigers are apex
and
predators.
Bears. Oh my!
Right.
I mean,
but
right.
we can't really say that we should do what lions and tigers do, can we? Because they also, go into other prides and eat the baby cubs of whoever was the lion there who was there before, right? Who was the alpha before? They also eat all of the baby cubs, and they also rape. So we can't, you can't say, oh, because a lion eat meat, so humans have to eat meat, because we do have moral compass.
Right. True.
Okay. So, but I don't want to get into a debate about veganism or what, but I just really wish more leftist channel would like kind of look into, because, okay, let me just give you some stats. Okay.
Sure.
We consume globally 80 to 100 billion land animals every year. Can you imagine how much resources it takes to feed those 80 to 100 billion land animals? It's sucking up a lot of our food, our plant food, and also water. It's extremely water intensive. Okay, and that's why I was like, this is a good conversation to have after Kowalski. So he was talking about water conservation. And one way to do it is, even if you don't go vegan, it's just to drastically reduce, meat consumption. Let's say,
I'm actually, I completely agree. I think those crazy people who are out there just eating I don't know, the what's his face? Oh my God, I'm having a mental block. Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, who are out there just have all meat diet. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's not what we were built to do either. We are supposed to eat both. Yeah. I mean, that's where we were supposed to have a diet of, at least from my understanding, based on the fact that that's what we do. We're supposed to have a healthy array of all these things. And also, if you can go vegan, I think that's great. I do think it's not for everybody. But yeah, I'm all for obviously trying to consume it all in a more healthy way and also a more sustainable way. And if that means
Yeah, because
eating,
right now,
if that means eating
right now,
a little less meat, that sure, I'm all for that. I just don't think we can, or at least I don't think everybody can cut out meat altogether.
well, this is okay. So I think that just so first of all, I think everybody who can should, and also that aside from just the the reason to go plant based is not just is for okay. There are a lot of reasons. For example, for personal health, for the health of the planet, since it's consuming so much, is so resource intensive, and then it's also good for the a lot of the how leftists are pro workers, right? A lot of the workers in these factory farm or animal agriculture, they do suffer from harsh working condition and PTSD, and a lot of them are these jobs are nobody will do it except for either undocumented migrant workers, and it's a really horrible situation for also the communities that the factory farms are in. It creates a lot of pollution. The animal agriculture creates a lot of pollution, water pollution and air pollution. And so, just from an all around, aside from, doing it for the animals, you don't even have to care about animals to go plant-based, because there's so many. It's for the planet, it's to help combat the climate crisis, is to help combat your individual health. You'll be a lot healthier, and people are they can go plant-based, because where do you think animals get their protein from?
Sure. No, I mean, I think, but I do think that we can, obviously, I think, industrial farming treats animals horribly, and how our food is made, but there's also a lot of places out there who actually, and it's becoming a more common thing. It's becoming actually like a trendy, popular thing for, animals to be, the animals we eat to be treated well in their life. And, I think, when it comes to how workers are treated, I think also fighting for better conditions makes more sense than like tossing the entire industry out. Do you know what I mean?
I think it would be a slow phase out. I mean, if you look at
I don't
how
know. I mean,
damaging.
I look at that. I think that would be more difficult than what we've tried and haven't been able to do with like coal miners or something like that. I think that'd be very difficult. I think there would be a lot of pushback to the point where we might be, shooting ourselves in the foot. I mean, I think it'd be much easier to argue what we were talking about before. Just trying to get people to eat healthier and perhaps less meat, just for like the animal perspective. I think is a easier sell to people than the industry
Yes,
being
for the
phased
ethical
out.
reason. Yes, I'm vegan for the animals. That's for sure. I do it for the ethical reason. That's definitely
What do you think about how, like, animal population needs to be controlled? And I don't care about it in terms of like animals going into different territories. I mean, like, there are types of animals that if their population goes out of control, they affect the population of other animals and can possibly cause them to go extinct. And we do things in that sense when we decide which animals that we control the population of through various different means, including sometimes what we eat.
Well, so first of all, the animals we eat, we are continuously breeding them. So we're breeding them into existence to the amount that we have right now. It's completely unnatural what we're doing right now. So it's if we slowly phase that out, obviously it's not like, oh, tomorrow everybody's going to go vegan and then there'll be 100 billion land animals just running loose, right? Because it will definitely take time. This is but it does need everybody to collectively get on board, right, to slowly phase it out. And right, and then you would slowly reduce the number of animals you breed. I mean, there's already a decreased consumption of beef, but however, since the consumption of cows have been lowered, there is a dramatic increase in consumption of chicken and fish. So, but then if everybody can get on board with, just reducing and eliminating the need for animal agriculture, it'll just slowly, we won't breed any more animals into existence. Because right now, that's what we're doing. We're breeding chickens, we're breeding cows, we're breeding pigs every day.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this isn't my area of expertise, and I think you're making a pretty good case for the most part. I think
am I making a? Is it a good enough case for you to look more into it? Because I know you're very open-minded, and I know if you look into it, I know you'll be surprised to just finding out the information
I'm
the information you
I'm
get.
definitely open to looking more into it. If you're asking me if I'm gonna go vegan, that's highly unlikely. But I'm definitely interested in looking more into it. I mean,
No, I'm not.
Also, I hate
vegan.
tofu. I hate it. I hate it. So I would have no
but I can
sort
tell
of
you everything you eat right now. There is a vegan version of it, and it tastes just the same, if not better.
I can tell you it doesn't.
Especially you being in New York, you have you're in a vegan paradise in being in New York.
I know that. Yeah, I know. I mean, I love salads. Throw a little bit of chicken in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's good.
No, I have total respect for people who are vegans and vegetarians. I have no, I'm not someone who's like, you should eat meat. But also, I can't, I mean, I don't think I could do it. I could certainly try to eat less. Let's put it this way. If I don't have at least something meat, I feel like I feel weak throughout the day. Like I can't it's not, maybe that's an addiction too. I mean, I feel the same way about soda.
It is.
I feel the same way about soda
Yeah,
sometimes.
meat is yep. Those are definitely addictions. No, I'm definitely not asking you to go vegan. But I would definitely appreciate it if you look into it. You can even look at some, vegan content creator like David Rams and Juggling Vegan. And you can even look at some documentary like The Game Changer on Netflix. There's a documentary called Game Changer, Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy. And there's a documentary that's a lot of people went vegan after it, but it's very graphic. It's called Dominion. And so, just to kind of if you kind of look into these information, it's just good to have this information because, we're all trying to, we all think that we can't do anything, but we can do something, we can take some sort of action to I know everybody's like, well, nothing's going to change unless the government do something or the corporations do something. But we all know the corporation doesn't have a conscience. They're not going to do anything unless there's a demand for it, right? The consumer demand for it. And then the government's not going to do anything unless there are more people who will collectively pressure them to do it. Whatever legislation. I'm volunteering for a group that is pushing legislations at the local level to ban local slaughterhouses because they are a breeding ground for the next pandemic. Because they're not like large scale slaughterhouses where it's in a sterile environment where they have stricter sanitary guidelines. So I'm also trying to push for from a prevention of the next pandemic aspect because 75% of emerging new disease come from their zoonotic origin.
Right.
So
I mean, that's where they believe COVID came from. I mean, I know some people believe the lab leak theory, which I do not.
Right.
The one that makes the most sense to me is there was an open market and something spread from one exotic animal that they were selling on there to humans. I don't know
absolutely.
what animal it is. It was at one point bats, at another point it was pangolins.
Pangolin.
I don't know which one. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't either of those two. But that theory is way more plausible to me. And listen, I am all for that. I can jump on board with you 100%. I think even from the ethical treatment of animals perspective, I think it's fine to. I don't have any problem consuming animals if they are treated well in life and then taken care of humanely. And that's not what's going on in terms of how we treat these animals in these mass-produced factory farms. I don't like that, and that I can 100% join with you. These animals should have a.
Here's another.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Here's another fact for you. More than 99% of the meat that's being consumed, in America, comes from factory farm.
Yeah.
There is no ethical treatment. Whatever you're eating, whatever animal you're eating, it does not come from an ethical place.
Right. Well, put it this way: if it comes from an ethical place, they usually go out of their way to advertise that it's like free range chicken or something like that. And you can just see how many people actually advertise that sort of thing. And
that's also a marketing lie. Free range. There's no such. Okay, free range chicken. This is what they do. There's a barn, and then they let the chickens there's 15,000 chickens in there, crowded in one barn, and they shut off all the lights. And first of all, you can't even go in there because the smell will just you'll just pass out from the smell of ammonia. And then they're all just there with feeding apparatus, and that's what they call free range. That it's not like it's not like you see Happy Chicken running in the Happy Farm. That there's no such thing. Right. So all of the grass fed, free range, all that stuff is just like a advertising terminology to make you feel better about what you're eating.
What about those farms I see in videos and stuff where the cows are taken care of and roam and everything, and then it's just when it's time they bring the cow into the that's not a thing either? Is that just all propaganda?
That's a very small percentage. That's a very, very small percentage. And ultimately, if you see something like that on TV, you don't really know how they're being treated day to day, how they're confined. Even if they are, okay, let's just give them the best possible situation possible. And what will happen is they will kill them when they're 5. Okay, so first of all, their lifespan is already shortened.
Hey, 5 years. 5 years ain't bad for some of these animals, though, right? I mean.
Yeah, but then they're during the 5 years, they're probably being milked milked all the time.
Isn't that something? Well, I know they could take it too far, but they do have to be milked. That's something healthy for them as well. I mean, I hope places that advertise that they treat the animals well, that they're not overdoing it. But I mean,
well, they do it. So why do they have milk to begin with?
What do you mean? Oh, because they have babies, right?
Yeah, they have babies. How do they
take the? I guess I don't know the terminology. I'm just gonna go with. Don't they usually just take the turkey baster and just do it that way?
Okay, so this is what they do. They use a bull. First, they jerk off a bull semen. Okay, and then they inject it. They forcefully, they call it artificially inseminate a female cow with this long needle by sticking it in their, in their private parts, and then they put them on. While doing this, they put them on a rape rack. That's the industry term. Okay, the industry term calls it a rape rack.
Well, I don't know about that. I gotta look that one up. Hold on, that seems a little bit incendiary.
I didn't make up that term. Okay, that's what the dairy industry calls it. Okay, they literally call it a rape rack. They put the cow on the rape rack, and then they use a long needle and inject the bull semen into the female cow. So that's how they get pregnant. Okay, when and then once they're pregnant, they have their baby, they will immediately separate the mother cow from the baby cow within like days. Like and then the cow is a very maternal animal. They'll cry and bellow for days looking for the baby cow. If it's a male baby cow, it'll be sent to slaughterhouse for veal. If it's a female cow, she'll be put through the same process as her mother, where when she's old enough to have babies, she'll go through that same process of getting pregnant, having a baby. That's how they have milk, and that's why they need to be milked. And the baby calf won't get any of her mother's milk, and it'll just all be, industrially, taken out, and the cycle goes on until like 5 years, where the cow is completely spent, and that's when they are sent to get slaughtered. So it's a very cruel and violent industry, but a lot of people don't know, don't see it, and maybe a lot of people don't want to know.
I don't know about but there's another thing that I saw people were trying to people were not trying. Let me phrase this correctly. There was a picture I saw going around that people were sort of using as to show like how we treat cows bad, and it's like this circular machine where cows go. And
yes.
But I mean, I was looking into that though, and it's just like how they like spin them to milk them quicker or something like that. Like nothing bad going on there, in that one at least. Or
this is what they do every day.
Right.
This is what they do every day, right?
Listen,
and it's basically
obviously,
and it's not.
We could definitely treat these animals better. That's for sure. So I'm definitely on board there. That's without a doubt. There's no need to cut corners on how we treat these animals, who are essentially we should treat with respect for feeding us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should respect them by not eating them. But I'm not trying to get you to go vegan, okay? But
that one sounded like it right there. That was
you. I mean, how about instead of you have 2 kids, do you buy milk for them?
Yeah.
Or do you yourself consume milk?
We for a while they didn't drink I forgot what milk they drank. They didn't drink, I think they drank like what's it called? I don't even remember. But yeah, they do drink they drink milk now.
2%,
something
non-fat.
like that. Yeah, one of those.
You can try, just try switching to oat milk. Oat milk is very tasty.
We've had soy milk and oat milk and all those. It's just like another option. It's not I don't think it's at least for us, a replacement, but it's something that we do have and swap out every now and then.
Yeah, maybe you can start with that. You can just start with not consuming any milk, right, in your coffee or for your kids, because I mean, milk is not good for the body. Whereas I disagree. I know there's this whole thing out there where like humans aren't meant to drink. Why are we drinking in other animals? That I disagree with. I think the drinking of milk is completely fine. If I'm against the treatment of the cows when you milk them, but I think the consumption of the milk is completely fine. So if you disagree with the way they are being milked,
I think we could do it better. We could do it in a more ethical way.
How can you?
Because they
and how would that be? What would that look like?
Cows do need to be milked. That's like a thing. Like they can't just that's a thing. Like they actually, it's not healthy for them to not be milked. And
yeah, they need to be milked because they were pregnant, but we artificially inseminate them to be pregnant. That's why they need to be milked. But we don't need to artificially inseminate them. We have, a lot of alternatives. We have it's even healthier to drink soy milk. It's healthier to drink almond milk or soy milk or oat milk.
All right. I mean, I'll have to look more. This isn't my area of expertise as a connoisseur of fast food. But yeah, I'll definitely. Yeah. I am certainly open-minded enough to look into it. Again, I can't make the promise or guarantee. In fact, I could probably make the guarantee that I won't be vegan, but I can certainly be more be more conscious of how animals are treated and advocate for the very least better and more ethical treatment of them in these farms and industries.
No, that I would love for you to look into it, because I know you will understand what I'm talking about as soon as you look into it. And then here's a last bit of fact for you. For every beef burger you consume, it's going to take 2,000 liters of water. And then if you add cheese and bacon, it's going to take 3,000 liters of water. So, just kind of, I don't think people understand the sheer volume of how many animals.
I am playing my part in this by hating cheese. I think cheese is disgusting and gross. It's the worst thing in the planet.
Okay.
I hate cheese. So there you go. I'm already doing my part.
Okay, that's great. And then you know what? If you said you love beef burger, you should next time try it. If you go to like Burger King or Carl's Jr., go for the plant-based one. It tastes just as good.
I have to try it. I've yet to try it.
Not better, right?
I have to try it.
Yeah,
I don't like.
Burger King has.
I don't like. Oh my God, what's it called again? I just said it before. Tofu. I hate it. It actually.
Which one?
I don't like tofu. I really don't like it.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah. Okay, you can try other meat substitute.
I will.
You don't have to eat tofu. You know what? Tofu, if it's maybe because you haven't tried tofu that's been cooked differently, or maybe you can try a different cuisine that has a more flavorful tofu.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because my kids and my partner, they like tofu. And my partner constantly tells me, "How do you not like tofu? It doesn't taste like anything." But I can tell you that I taste tofu, and I do not like the taste of tofu. I can't explain it. It has a taste to me. But I appreciate the call. This is definitely interesting. It's not the usual type of call I have on here, and I know nothing about this. It's truly just not one of my areas of expertise. And quite frankly, to be straight up, I mean, I'm certainly going to look into it because I do care about animals. But the whole agriculture and food thing just never was my thing. It's just not.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, not to
If you.
I know it's other people's thing. It's just never been something that I was. It's not my specialty. We're all good at something, and this is not for me.
Okay, no problem. But just as long as you look into
I will.
it, then that's all I ask.
I will, and I'll probably have someone on to talk about it, like a expert in the field or something who can teach me about some of the things you brought up, and yeah, I mean, you taught me a few things. I didn't know some of these.
Oh, awesome!
So there you go.
That would be great. Because I know somebody called into or sent an email or IM to Majority Report asking for the same thing too. Like if they can bring on a vegan to talk about how the food is. I think it is an important topic. Because we keep talking about fossil fuel, but there's really nothing we can directly do to help with the fossil fuel situation except don't drive as much or don't fly. But food is something you do 3 times a day. So, it'd be great if, you can look into it.
I think you make the same argument though for both, that both are with even if I'm able to, even if you and me are able to go out there and convince 1,000 people to become vegan, it's gonna not even be a blip in the industry. I mean, the same thing could be said thing could be said about fossil fuels. So I mean, it sort of is the same thing.
But we do need fossil fuel no matter what, right? Like, I mean, even
one day we'll hopefully be on renewables completely.
Yeah, hopefully, and then hopefully we'll have plant-based food and
I actually think
cultured meat.
I actually think renewables are probably actually more attainable than that, honestly. I mean, I actually think that. I think it's going to be much easier to transition to renewable energy than it is to get people to all go vegan, honestly. But yeah, I appreciate the call. Feel free to call in any time. I enjoyed it. Have a great night.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. No, I enjoy that a lot. Different call. Not even a topic that's usually discussed on my streams. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about this. This is not my area of knowledge whatsoever. it really I understand why it's a thing for some people, and that's like their thing. I totally get it. It's just not for me. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? My name's Chrissy.
Hey, Chrissy, what would you like to talk about?
Okay, well, I mean, I'm surprised I got through. I saw you on Tim Pool, believe it or not.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
I know it's a bit random. Like, I'm from Britain, by the way.
Oh, so you're staying up late?
Yeah,
you're staying up late. It's 6 a.m. there, right?
5.
All right. That's even.
Yeah.
I think that's even harder, actually. I mean, I could see someone waking up at 6, but like you've had to stay up. I'm assuming, like you've been up.
Well, you know, like I like to consume a lot of different types of media. So, you know, bit of left wing, bit of right wing, bit of neutral. Sometimes like computer games and stuff. And my schedule is quite fortunate, so I get to stay up whenever I like, and as a result, I get to watch you live, and I get to watch the Beanie live, and various other people live. You know,
that's perfect. I love it. Anything that enables more people to watch me live, I enjoy. So, what would you talk about?
So, I mean, I was listening to Sam about the veganism thing, and you mentioned things to do with renewable energy. What are your thoughts about nuclear power?
That, you know, I honestly, again, another area that is not my forte. I think I know there are people who think nuclear energy is a good option and much better than obviously like burning burning oil and shit like that. I don't know, honestly. I've heard cases for both. I need to do a lot more work on it. I would say I lean towards against it because of the possibility for issues that come from it.
So like the 3 Mile Island incident sort of puts you off, or Chernobyl maybe?
Yeah, stuff like that is certainly not good, right? I mean,
for sure, yeah.
I'm also not, you know, I can't say I have a strong opinion on this specific topic. But what would you like to say about it?
Well, there's a couple of things. So, I mean, 3 Mile Island, early 70s, Chernobyl, mid 80s, both are down to technical failings as well as mismanagement, right? But also it's based on the very original concepts designed by the British a long time ago, like in the 50s, for the power stations. Nowadays, we're looking much more into things like fusion power. So a good thing to look up would be the ITER reactor. So it's ITER. So it's a international conglomerate of different nations working together to create a fusion system. And they're due to hopefully go live 2025 with a 1 gigawatt factory south of Paris, and like China, the USA, Canada, Australia, Israel, the UK, France, various other places. They've all combined together, and they've spent quite a lot of money to try and make this thing go live. And it should be able to produce more energy than you put in to make it actually a feasible form of power. And the good thing about it is that if it goes wrong, it just stops the reaction, because it's a form of plasma contained within a magnetic toroidal ring. I won't get too technical because, let's face it, it's probably not something everybody wants to hear about. They can look it up for themselves.
But let me ask you this though: isn't it a concern that as hard as it is to get away from fossil fuels, eventually I think we'll be able to do it, once there is an alternative that can feasibly take its place. Whereas with nuclear power, it seems like once we build this thing, it's extremely hard and difficult to decide to move away from it because of the nature of the danger of the what's there.
Well, if we're sticking to traditional fission reactors where we're splitting atoms, much like a hydrogen bomb, then yes, the dangers within it are quite
we're sort
obvious.
of stuck with that nuclear plant for good almost, or maybe not even almost for real.
Well,
like I'm not.
not really. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
So with a fission reactor, the waste products are quite harmful, and there are many steps required to make them even close to reasonably disposed. And even then, none of them are really very good, except for if we shot them into the sun, which might do the job. But having said that, not exactly cost effective. So with a fusion reactor, much like a cold breeder fission reactor, where they recycle some of the waste into other forms of nuclear potential material, a fusion reactor has none of the waste. So it takes two bits of hydrogen, slams it together, you get helium. And there's a little bit of energy that comes out, but the amount of hydrogen you use creates an awful lot of energy. Now, what they would actually do is use, it's called heavy water, and they create water with a little bit of hydrogen, and there's a lot of energy that comes out. It's very, very clever, really. It's a bit beyond my pay grade, if I'm honest. But you don't get the waste products, and not having the waste products makes it a lot safer. And if anything was to go wrong with it, the plasma stops being contained and the energy becomes diffuse within the atmosphere in a very small radius. So you might melt down the toroidal ring that it's been contained in, which is very, very unlikely. Unlike where Chernobyl, you'd have to put a concrete dome over the entire reactor. You don't get the same levels of fallout, for example, where within 3 Mile Island, everybody was having to be scrubbed down. If there's a problem with a fusion reactor, there is no fallout. So it's a much safer system.
What about in a case like, and this isn't as long ago as either of those, like Fukushima?
Fukushima. So that's an interesting thing because, again, that was a fission reactor rather than a fusion reactor. So a fission reactor, but when it got slammed by the tectonic movement as well as by the tidal wave, it caused a destabilization of the containment field and therefore created a radical bombardment of neutrons, creating a chain reaction, and also leaked a load of gunk into the sea, which probably wasn't great. But also on top of that, it was built on a fault line, which they had done the engineering and figured it would be fine. But the problem with trying to predict the planet's behavior is planet's been around a lot longer than we have, and we've only really been recording stuff for about 200 years. So, I mean, our guesses are sometimes quite a lot off. With a fusion reactor, however, you'll find that, again, anything happens to the reactor, you're not using radioactive material. You're using standard elements, and you're trying to create a secondary element with a little bit of energy to come out. So that way you're not getting like alpha or beta decay, and therefore you are only generating heat. So when the plasma, which is contained to only a few microns wide, so a millionth of a meter, right? And if you take something that is as hot as the sun, which is only a millionth of a meter wide, and then you destroy its containment field, that disperses so quickly that it stays only within the ring that it's contained in and doesn't cause the same sort of damage that you would see from a standard fission reactor, which is the opposite process where you are slamming things together to break them apart.
Do you have I'm trying to, because obviously I'm taking you at your word here because you clearly know more about it than I can even pretend to do. But
yeah, sorry, I'm a nerd.
No, it's fine. It's your thing. Everyone's got things they're into, and this is not my area at all. But do you have an issue though with, like, I'm trying to understand, like, why like, what's your issue with renewables? Like, do you have something, when I say something against them, I don't mean like you just like have a grudge. Like, is there a legitimate concern about renewables for you, or you just don't think it's possible? Like, what is your, like, why would you pick nuclear over renewable?
There's a few issues. I think you can work them together, but you couldn't solely work on renewables on their own. There's just not enough energy available from them. So if you look at the amount of surface area that you have available for solar farms, for example, the issue is that the amount of energy that you get per 1 square meter doesn't scale properly on a large scale. And you can't just convert, say, the Sahara Desert or somewhere like, I don't know, Idaho, just for an example. You just can't take the back fields, turn it all into solar panels, because you damage the ecosystem just as much as you would as if you strip mined it, because everything underneath it no longer gets sunlight, right? Now, that's just solar panels themselves.
But aren't there countries, and I'm pretty sure even I think California had an issue with this too, where they were creating too much renewable energy than they were able to disperse. Like they had an oversupply, and like, you know, we're not, you know, Germany, for example, isn't like covered by so many solar panels that they can't see the sun there. I don't know about that argument where that, you know, we can't make enough of it. It seems like we can. The issue is we just don't have the capacity yet to disperse it correctly. And as it continues to roll out and we move towards it, we will be able to do that. At least that's what it seems to me, no?
Well, I'm really glad you made that point, actually, because whilst, yes, it looks like that on the surface, there's a multi-tiered level sort of issue that is within that. So firstly, you're absolutely right. We don't have a method of transmission and dispersal that is effective in these situations. So the sun only shines at daytime, clearly. I mean, that is sort of goes with it, but you can only collect so much. Now, for the area that you've got it, that's brilliant. But you're going to generate too much in the sunny areas and not enough in the shady areas. And the transmission of energy, there's a lot of leakage between site A to site B. So, for example, certain areas of Germany gets a lot of sunlight. Northern Germany gets quite a lot less than, say, southern Germany. It's quite big. And transmitting that energy from the south to the north, you lose a fair amount of energy. Also, the storage of it requires quite intensive batteries. Now, the current technology, which is mainly lithium-ion batteries, there's only a few sources of lithium around the planet. Alaska's a great one. Where is it? China's got a load. But it's sort of centralized in certain areas. And to get at it, it's quite destructive to an ecosystem. Now, Stanford and Harvard have both put out some interesting research papers on sort of more common earth metals rather than rare earth metals to create batteries. So rather than using lithium, they're using copper, for example. Now, if that technology comes through, that'll be fantastic, right? However, at the moment, the technology that we're using also doubles up as part of the problem. So whilst, yeah, you're absolutely right, maybe in the future, we can develop a battery system that will store all of the energy that we generate. There's also the transmission issue. Now, where I live, we've had the same sort of wiring system going along pylons for my entire life. And I'm a little bit older than you. So 7 or 8 years, I believe. You're 35, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 7 or 8 years older. And they've always had the same system. But we lose anywhere up to the order of 35% of the energy in transmission. And they say to us, well, you know, what you need to do is use less power during peak times. And it's like, well, what was the last breakthrough we've had in energy transmission that you've been involved in? Because you keep putting the prices up, but we never see any outcome. So there's like a little issue there, if you know what I mean. And, you know, the materials and the cost in order to manufacture these things. Now, hopefully with Melbourne University University of New South Wales put out a paper on 3D printing solar panels, which, if it becomes effective, will be amazing. But conversely, might not. You know, the materials and the cost to local ecosystems where the materials are mined is quite extensive. And I mean, that's not just to talk about things like the way that we manipulate the landscape, effectively similar to strip mining again, when we want to put down wind arrays. Now, if we're doing wind arrays out in the ocean, it's slightly better, but salt water is incredibly corrosive to a lot of these things, and they're very expensive to produce, let alone maintain. You know, I mean, the amount of energy generated from a wind array isn't anywhere near as much as, and obviously it's not happened yet, so, you know, bear with us, a fusion reactor would generate for the same amount of investment, you know.
Right. It's certainly, I certainly got to look more into. Someone in the chat, Wombat in the chat says there's a great podcast called "How to Save a Planet" that explains why nuclear isn't economically viable compared to renewables, at least here in the U.S. I don't know what their argument is. It sounds interesting. Just wanted to mention it. Maybe you want to check it out too. I'm gonna certainly
I'll
listen
definitely
to it.
do that. I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, but
because
thanks for the call.
with vision,
This is
that's
certainly,
hey, no worries.
certainly something. Again, an area that don't usually talk about on the show back to back. So interesting stuff. I think people are, at least who watch this show, are hearing something different.
Well,
Yeah, I really appreciate the
glad to
call.
hear it. I mean,
That's great. You found me from Tim Pool too. That's great. Thanks for calling in. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
hey, yeah, just have a nice day.
Oh, great. Yeah. Hope you call in again. Take care. Have a great morning.
Thanks
Good
very
morning
much.
over there, actually. Enjoy your day.
And to you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Geez, a lot of calls. I love it. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hey.
Hello?
Hello. Yep, you are on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
That was shockingly efficient. Yes. Hi. Yeah, I'm Curtis, calling from Czech Republic.
Oh, okay. What time is it over there right now?
Oh, it's a little past 6.
Oh, well, good morning to you too. What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, wow, those were some really interesting and dense topics. I've been listening to you for a while now. First got into it from Majority Report. And I'm an ecologist. I'm a plant ecologist.
Okay.
So a lot of the things that you talk about, you know, on the side of, especially there's a lot of disingenuous discussion coming from the right at the moment about the complexity of certain topics.
Sure.
And as a plant ecologist, complexity is my life. Yeah, sorry, I'm surprisingly nervous.
No,
So
don't worry
maybe a
about it.
little
Listen,
bit
the show, if you haven't noticed, this is very conversational. There's no, some shows put a time limit. I might have to eventually tell people to hurry up as more and more people call in. But for now, there's no clock ticking. So take a breath and let's talk.
Yeah, so one thing that I specifically on the question of climate change that I find a bit tricky is this use of really simple examples. And it's interesting, on the right, you see them either using very complicated or very simple examples, depending on what they want to do. Regarding abortion and trans rights, they get really, really into the weeds. And then when we start talking about climate change, they say, oh, it'll only be plus 3 degrees.
Right. Yeah. And they don't realize that that is a big change for, the environment. That's not like, oh, only 3 degrees or something. That could be, if you're 3 degrees in a certain area, it takes you from, freezing to no longer freezing. You're going to see changes in the environment.
Definitely. So one of my first problems with the 3 degrees argument is that it's not just 3 degrees. It's considerably more complicated than that. Some places will be higher, some places will be lower. Just as you say, also, if we're talking about certain areas where species are already at their temperature maximum, 3 degrees is lethal. 1 degree can be lethal, or enough to push something over the edge that they cannot compete as efficiently, and they become perhaps locally or completely extinct in certain in larger areas, and we start losing ecotypes and genetic diversity.
Right.
So from the community and population level, these temperatures are can be quite important, and also it's not just temperature. The big thing, and I think Nomiki Konst did a really great argument against Dan Bongino some time ago, and what she was getting at was hydrological intensification. So it's not just temperature; it's temperature and humidity, moisture, precipitation. So yeah, as you say with the freezing. Okay, so plants in particular, in temperate regions, during the winter they'll be at least herbaceous plants will be safely below ground. If it gets and they're protected by a nice snow cover, it insulates the soil. They're not the freezing temperature does not penetrate, and they're good. They're happy. They're fine. But if it gets hot, the snow melts, there's not any snow afterwards, then it gets cold again, you have the penetration of freezing temperatures. So we're looking at situations where it can be too cold at the wrong time and wrong conditions, or too hot at the wrong time, wrong conditions. And the changes that we see will vary depending on where we're looking. Right. So a place like Germany, we'll see a lot of longer seasons. In other places, you could see shorter growing seasons because snow cover will actually stay a lot longer.
Right. I mean, I'm expecting that, 3 degrees could even wipe out certain species of animals, like cold-blooded animals, like lizards. I bet 3 degrees could be the difference between life and death in terms of like their body slowing down or something like that, right? I'm not I'm just guessing from putting 2 and 2 together.
I mean, ecosystems are very complicated. So there are certain, and we don't yet know how many buffers are present in different areas. And so certainly some species that are too close to their limit, they will die off. There's also certain communities that are more at risk than others. So in certain types of extreme environments, and also, as we're looking more at some of these colder areas, or typically colder areas, they can actually be warming up a bit faster. So it's actually quite bad, and we start seeing them getting outcompeted by other species, especially, when we start talking about plants, since they don't move so quickly, this competition is a big problem. If you're just limited to a rather small area, and suddenly there's some grass growing really, really fast, outshading you because you're just a cute tiny herb, then this can be quite a problem. And so there's a certain type of community, particularly in colder areas, called snowbeds. And so these can exist in different, particularly alpine habitats. Because when we talk about alpine habitats, they're also really, really affected by topography. And how the airflow is changed by different elements. And so these communities are very, very dependent on heavy, persistent snow cover to protect these plants. And we see, as we start losing some of this snow cover, other plants are able to grow and spread and outcompete. And we could lose some of these small niche habitats. Which would be not ideal. Right.
This is really thank you for the call about this. Is really interesting in terms of combating the. I mean, it's obviously just like hearing them the right wing say, "Oh, 3 degrees, what's the big deal? Oh, cool, we'll go to the beach more," or whatever they probably say. I mean, obviously it's bullshit, but hearing from someone with an expertise about, more specific issues that could come up. This is really interesting and fascinating stuff. This is an episode that, the other two calls before you were great and different, but what you're bringing up is more in line with what this show usually covers. It's just a topic we haven't yet got into, and I think this is something I should definitely do on Doomed on Tuesdays, an episode on, the right wings, debunking the right wings, bullshit propaganda surrounding climate change and temperature changes.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. So, yeah, and that, it's a little bit of a tricky subject, and yeah, as you mentioned, not a lot of people know about some of these specific places where they go in one direction or another, whereas the right is very prepared with other niche talking points. So they're very good.
I didn't even realize, because my Skype was behind my main window. I didn't even realize you were using your video. I'm going to bring you up on the feed if you don't mind. Is that fine? Can I bring your video up on the feed?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I want people to be able. It's more interesting to see the two. What would you if you sat down with a right winger? Have you ever thought about, like, I mean, obviously everything you told me is how to, debunk what, and bring, but how would you specifically go about it to someone who maybe you think you could reach and get through? Have you ever thought that through? Like, what would be like the thing you think would be able to connect?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a tricky topic.
Right. And if you don't know, that's not, this is not something, I'm not putting you on the spot. I was just wondering if you did, and if you don't, that's totally fine. Cause I don't think, I can't think of anything. I mean, if they're not worried about climate change at this point and want to do something about it, I mean, sadly, I think the only thing left is for us to wait for people to, I hate to say it, die off.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're very good at obscuring different topics, and also a lot of my talking about this is in other either more scientific circles, right, or certain types of community outreach where
let me ask you this question then. What do scientists that you've, this is obviously, very limited to your own experience, but what are the people you acted with? Are they like fed up with these people? Like the right? Like, what is their reaction to this stuff? Like, are they just like, what do they, like, what's the general consensus here? Like, have they thought about any sort of way to go about it? I'm not even talking simply now getting through the right. Like, have your circle of scientists discussed, like, it's just how to move forward without them on board? Like what is the discussion around that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the consensus is that climate change, global change, whatever you want to call it, is happening.
Right, of course.
And then when you talk to a different person, they will bring up different parts and different ways and different things that are of particular importance. So it's a bit difficult to say on that side. I certainly, I have a lot of interest in these cold aspects, which are very complicated and a little bit less well known. So, but one thing that maybe does help with perspective is a little bit is that the planet, global change, one of these major components that has already happened is land use change. And so we're not just these, we're concerned about an increase in temperature and in particular, this hydrological intensification. And a lot of why this is happening is because we've already changed the land so much. Some regions of United States, these other coastal areas, you see that people are living places that on unstable land. You've really changed the way that tides flow and land stability, erosion, these other problems with temperature. So urban areas can change the temperature. They affect the way that heat is absorbed. And then you can have this increase of heat in certain areas. Buildings and even trees can obstruct airflow. You can have pockets that kind of capture carbon dioxide. So yeah, sorry, I'm getting into the weeds again.
No, let me ask you this. I know this isn't, you're going in a different direction, but let me be more specific. I in terms of like the politics of it all, are you seeing, at least again in your own experience, scientists willing to get more political? I mean, I know long ago, back in the day, there was an understandable unwillingness for scientists to engage in the politics of it all, because they wanted science to be apolitical and not for Republicans or Democrats or whomever party in whatever country you're in, they didn't want them to be biased against these things based on, a scientist's political ideology but clearly that dynamic has changed. And science is very political. There's no escaping it anymore. And the politics of it will kill people. Have you personally, again, this is on your own personal experience, have you personally experienced any change in attitude from your own scientific circles in how to approach the politics of this all?
So science communication and science outreach is growing in importance. You see a lot of people working on that even more, and there's a lot of podcasts and readily available information on a lot of these different topics. So there's definitely a lot of people have a really strong interest. It can depend on where you are and what you're doing. I remember going to some conferences and suddenly and during the Trump era, and people couldn't come because there was too much mention of climate change in their work and other budget problems. Also, I know in Canada and the US, as these administrations changed, the Harper government was a real problem for science and a lot of these things. So there's to some extent, a lot of scientists just want to stay under the radar and get to do their work and affect things on that level. And also we're very, very busy people. So it's not always so easy to distribute your time and energy into these other things. But I mean, we know firsthand how important it is, and also, how that it's very complicated, and a big goal is to add to the understanding, add to the literature that's out there. But in getting into these other facets, other areas for communication, it's a little bit tricky.
Right. No, totally understandable. Thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. This is really interesting.
Well, thank you.
And definitely feel free to call in again. I love all these new callers I'm getting today. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Ciao.
Have a great, I almost said night. Have a great morning.
I gotta go to work.
Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks.
This is great. I love it. So many calls. Listen, the stream has now been going on for almost 3 hours. It's 12:30 here. One more call. One more call. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, brother. It's Nick from New Zealand. How you doing?
Hey, Nick from New Zealand. Oh, you're using it automatic.
Bro, I got it set up.
Perfect.
Hopefully I'm looking good.
Yep, everything's perfect. What would you like to talk about?
Basically Timcast.
Okay.
I'd never heard of you before you went on.
Cool.
And I want to know about. I've been watching a few of your things. They're pretty good.
Oh, thank you.
Like especially the Libs of TikTok one. I thought was quite cool.
Oh, thank you.
We'd only heard like half the story.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you
doxing dudes and.
Right. I'm very glad you look at it that way, because I think that's correct. Right. I really appreciate that. Is there anything specific you wanted to talk about, or we could whatever.
Two things.
Sure.
Two things. Sorry to keep cutting you off. I think internet's a bit terrible. Tim's sword cleaning, man. What's up with that?
Yeah, I was. I mean, it was interesting. I mean, I got no problem with it. I just thought it was an interesting first time I met him. He's cleaning his swords. Not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was maybe just something he normally does on Monday evenings, and I was just the guest that day, or maybe it was a intimidation tactic. I don't know.
I think it's definitely some prowess because he goes on about guns all the time, and
Right.
Also another thing, did he try and pass you a gun? Because I know he was talking on his show about trying to pass a Liberal guy a gun and he wouldn't touch it.
Oh, I don't know if he
Like
he
a
didn't.
musket or something.
Oh, he asked me. He showed me the musket, and he said it was from like World War or the Civil War. I don't remember what he said it was from. It was a old, and he was like, you could pick it up if you want. And I'm not a gun, and it wasn't I was afraid of the gun. I was afraid that I was gonna like mishandle this like old ass like historical artifact that he claimed it was. I mean, I probably would have picked it up if it was some like modern weaponry. It was actually intimidating in terms of it looked old, and I didn't want to break it.
Yeah, he's brought it up a couple times. I mean, it's just a bit weird, like the way he tries to sort of out alpha people. And I don't think he's that kind of dude. Like he seems.
I didn't even know he was doing that. I mean, it was such a non-issue. Like he didn't try to we were just before the show, we were talking, and he showed me, the gun that's on the wall behind him. I asked him about those, and he said that it was like a real gun, but it was just like a recreation or something of like a certain time, I think he said. I don't remember exactly what he said, but like the one behind him was no big deal. And he was like, if you want to see like a real like historical gun, it's that one over there against the wall. And it was like a musket sitting against the wall. And I was like, I went over to it and I was looking at it and I was like, wait, you're telling me this is like from, I don't remember, maybe he said Civil War or something. And I was like, it's that old? And he was like, well, it's never been used before. And so here I am thinking like, this shit's like I don't know how rickety it is. He's saying it never been used before. I'm not going to get it. I don't want responsibility for it if I pick it up and I break it. So I was just looking, I was like, that's cool. If it was like, again, if it was some like modern like gun, I probably would have looked at it. I don't know why he's talking about it like it was some sort of big thing. I totally forgot about the whole situation. Honestly, I thought the sword thing was way more fascinating.
Yeah, I heard you bring it up. I heard you just like say it in passing, and I wanted to hear more about this.
Right. And also, I wasn't sure how much he wanted to discuss things that happened off the air. I've tried to be very careful about that. I mentioned the the sword thing because I thought that was just like a funny little side note. I don't know what he wants out there. I was trying to be respectful, if he wants to talk about what happened on or off, off the air. I mean, we could talk about that too.
Well, I'm not trying to stir the pot.
No, I don't think you are either. No. I didn't know he was saying that stuff. That's interesting. I didn't even know he was talking about that.
I didn't know he was saying it about you. Like he sort of brings it up.
Now it's possible.
Very vaguely.
It's possible he did. There's someone else who's been on, and he more forwardly said, "Do you want to hold this gun?" That did not happen. He asked me if I wanted to take a look at it. I don't remember if he specifically asked if I wanted to pick it up. I do remember him saying, "You want to take a look at it?" I don't know if I took that as meaning, does he want me to pick it up? I do recall saying to myself, "I don't want to fuck with it," because he said it's old. I just looked at it. But perhaps there was someone else who he more forwardly said, "Do you want to hold this?" And they said no. I know Jamie Kilstein was on after me, the day after me, and Jamie Kilstein is more of a, he used to be super progressive, and then there was a whole thing that happened. I'm sure he talked about it on the show with Tim. And he's still like a liberal, but he's a little bit more, he's moved a little bit more towards the center, I believe. Maybe he was talking about him. I have no idea. But it's possible he was talking about me.
Exactly what show it was on, because it was like a couple weeks ago. But it was definitely after you came on.
Right. It's possible he's
So
talking about
I
men,
was
but
just one.
right.
Yeah, he doesn't. He won't confront it. Like he won't say you specifically or someone else specifically. But basically, he was tying it into that liberals don't know shit about guns, and like they'll talk about how they want to ban guns, but they don't know shit about them.
Right. Well,
Sorry,
you
am I allowed
know,
to switch?
Tim Pool wants to ban abortion, and he can't. He's never had an abortion. He never will. I mean, the same thing. You could say the same thing. I mean, you don't need to experience all of these things to understand. And also, I'm not personally. I mean, my personal opinion is it would be great if there were no guns in this country. But I also am a realist, and I don't think. I mean, we could barely even get restrictions. So I'm a realist in the sense of this country will likely always have guns. So I'm not looking to completely ban guns from a realistic perspective. Just looking for some, restrictions in terms of the age range where you can get certain weaponry, what type of guns are available to the public. That's really what I'm personally, looking to restrict. I actually have a question for you. What is it about the Tim Pool show? And again, this isn't. Don't feel like you're being put on the spot. I'm not asking anyone to stop or I'm just interested. What about Tim Pool's show draws you to watch it?
Oh, that's kind of a tough one because I've sort of gone through the ringer like Joe Rogan for a start, then into Crowder, and like I can't stand Crowder anymore, and I'm getting that way with Tim Pool, and like definitely seeing him interview more liberal people, it's definitely eye-opening to the way he talks to them compared, and especially what you were saying on the show sort of got to me about how he sort of spouts these right-wing claims. But I do like Ian on the show, but they constantly like belittle him and don't listen to what he says. But I don't know. I thought as you've made the comparison to him, sort of spouting right wing stuff and claiming that he's a libertarian and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Like again, that's like. And I maybe I wasn't. I thought I was clear on it, but I just to be extra clear too. Like, if Tim Pool has his show, like you watched Crowder, for example. Crowder, as much as I dislike Crowder a lot, probably easily I would say I have more issues with Crowder's beliefs than Tim Pool's. He at least is forward about who he is, and his audience is not confused as to what they're consuming. His audience is also mostly made up of right-wingers and conservatives because they know that's the type of show he runs and that's who he is. My issue with Tim Pool, again, on the issues wise, I probably, have more issue with Crowder's actual beliefs, but my biggest issue with Tim Pool that I don't have with Crowder is that there is a substantial audience that watches Tim, and they don't know that he isn't really presenting the perspective of what he claims he is. Like, if he was just like, listen, this is a right-wing show, I'm a right-winger, I'm a conservative, I'm a Trump voter, that's who I am, and this is what the show is. I would look at him the same as Crowder and Ben Shapiro and all the other people. I disagree with what they say, and I'll take, their beliefs head on and I'll criticize that. But I can't criticize that I can't pretend that they're lying to their audience. With Pool and, from my own personal experience after going on that show and hearing from his audience, I mean, you're saying it too. There are people who watch his show and believe he is what he's claiming and think they are getting that middle of the road perspective at the very least. And that's not what they're getting. And I think if people thought they were getting a right-wing perspective and they weren't solely right-wingers, they would still watch Tim, which again, it's fine. I'm not out to stop you from doing that. That's something you would have to do on your own if that's what you decided to do. But they would still watch Tim, but say, you know what, I want to hear the other side or another perspective, and then they would search out a left-wing perspective, a progressive perspective. I'm hearing a lot of people come to me and say, I've never heard the left wing or progressive or liberal position on this until you went on Tim's show. And that to me is a concern because they thought previously that Tim was giving them that position.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I totally agree with what you say about Crowder too, but I mean at the same time he's doing stuff that he's like his whole thing about censorship and sort of shelling for that. That I'm feeling Tim Pool's getting into that thing because he's constantly bringing up. I mean, I know it's a show, but he's constantly bringing up joining and giving the money and like all this stuff that he's doing, and it's like, bro, you're not doing much. Like you've got a lot of viewers and stuff, but like all this other stuff he's doing, it just seems like trickery and like I don't know, shilling basically.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. He's got something going on business-wise, and it's working for him. And and also let's face it. I mean, again, I don't know your politics and how much you've watched different different types of political media, but it's well known, established at least among the left that there's a lot more money in right-wing media than left-wing media. It's just how it is. I mean, right-wing media doesn't necessarily take on capitalism and corporations. I mean, they don't at all. That's what they believe in, capitalism, the way the left does. So obviously when business looks to prop up certain speakers and talkers and shows and influencers, that money flows to the right. He found a niche. He's able to say that he's not a right-winger, but still rake in, the right-wing viewership. And there's money in that. So I get it from that perspective. I just, the thing that bothers me most about him, and I've said it 100 times, is that just present yourself as what you are, man. Stop misleading your audience. Just let them know so they can either A, decide to keep watching you because they agree that it's also who they are, or B, they'll seek out some other perspectives for balance. Or maybe even C, they'll realize that I do think there's also a group that just is apolitical and tunes into Tim because he's popular, and they don't know what their politics are. And if they listen to other perspectives, if they knew they were just getting a right-wing perspective and they listened to other perspectives, it's possible they just wouldn't be where they stand. They would discover that that's not what they believe, and they actually feel differently about things.
Yeah, well, it's definitely presented as something it isn't, and I definitely fell for that, and I don't like that I fell for that. But
listen, you should the biggest thing in the bigger than even what I could do as someone who never even was into it is just come to terms with oh shit, that was something I was into, and I've decided that's not who I am. I think that's huge, man. You shouldn't you should flaunt that. Don't feel bad about it at all.
Yeah, totally I agree. Hey, have you ever heard of Red Bar? Because he got me off Crowder. Have you ever heard of Red Bar Radio?
Red Bar?
Yeah.
It
might be a bit full on.
Red Bar.
He uses quite a lot of pop words.
Comedy talk show out of Chicago. Is that who they are?
Yeah. He totally smashed the idea of Crowder for me about sort of his sort of unequal way that he treats other people compared to himself.
I'm not familiar with I'm actually not familiar with Red Bar.
He's interesting. He's definitely not for everyone, but he has some really good opinions on stuff. And he actually talked about the guy you work with on the Minority Report. I've only watched one of them.
Sam Cedar, Majority Report. Sam Cedar?
Yeah, so basically how Crowder wouldn't debate him, because I heard this brought up on the Timcast show,
yes,
and I'd watched the thing about a week before. So it was basically how he wouldn't debate with him based on that he has on Gavin McInnes' show, based on because he has less viewership than him.
Now
that was his excuse.
Here's the thing. That's probably what he's saying now, but here's the thing. And again, this story's been told by Sam on the Majority Report, but you're not familiar, so I want to take the time to tell you about it. Years ago, in the U.S. there's this yearly political media convention called Politicon. And it's basically like, are you familiar with like, the YouTube conventions like VidCon and like, when YouTube influencers get together and they do like panels? It's sort of like a Comic Con for YouTubers. Politicon's like that, Politicon's like that for like political streamers and everything. And according to and then this is from the people who put together Politicon. Now they are completely unbiased because they bring political streamers from the left, political streamers from the right. The point of the show is to get these people all together to discuss and everything. And so they were setting up a Crowder-Sam Seder debate, and it was booked. It was supposed to happen. And then all of a sudden, Politicon contacts Sam and says, "Hey, we hate to tell you this, but Crowder's pulling out of the debate." And Sam got one of the Politicon people, like one of the organizers, to go on record, like come on the show to talk about it. And they basically said that apparently Crowder, and this is true now that at the time it wasn't, we weren't sure, but it's true that now because you would see him in videos and stuff. Crowder's dad is his manager. And when Crowder's dad found out that this Politicon debate between Crowder and Sam was booked, Crowder's dad canceled it. Now, we can all speculate on what reasons he did that for. On my end and on Sam's end, Sam is known for taking calls like me, but he has his show is bigger than mine, and he has open challenges to libertarian callers specifically. Like that's his thing. He has these libertarian debates. And because he's got a bigger channel, he gets a lot of libertarians calling in. And Sam usually does very good in these. And so it's our estimation that they pulled out because they didn't want Crowder to look bad debating Sam. Now, I'm sure they'll have their own side. They'll say, they decided Sam didn't have a large enough viewership. I mean, my personal opinion is that should not matter. I mean, who cares if you think the person is worthy of discussion? I mean, I'll hand it to Tim Pool for sure. He gets no disrespect from me on this front. Dude's got 1 million followers. I got, on YouTube, I got, 20-something thousand subscribers. I mean, I know on Twitter I got a little bit bigger, but still Tim's much bigger on me there too. But he knew that, at least on the left, I have this little niche following, and he thought, hey, this is, who cares how many subscribers he has on? I'm going to have him on. And I mean, that's legit. You'll get no complaint about Tim from me there. I think that's what should be done. People shouldn't be judged by how many subscribers they have or followers. If you think they're in, they could have a debate with you, if they're worthy of that, then you should do it with them. And Crowder at one point clearly thought it was a good idea because he agreed to do it when Politicon was putting it together. And then, of course, the whole thing where Ethan Klein Crowder wanted to debate Ethan Klein, and Ethan's not a political commentator. You could, so Ethan thought it was a good opportunity to get to get Crowder to confront Sam. And again, right there, if you watch that clip, Sam's on the stream, Crowder's doing his show, the opportunity's right there. Why not just do it? But he refused, and he just decided instead to just mock Ethan, mock Sam, and just cancel the whole thing. I mean, I don't.
It definitely seems like he enjoys to do stuff that's in his control. So, in a neutral environment, because he'll go and debate people with no followers, no problem, all the time.
Right.
Claim he's a man and stuff, but.
Right, but who are those people? Who are those people he talks to with no followers? Those are like college kids on campuses, like. Yeah. Like I'm sure there are very smart college students on campuses, but I'm sure Crowder makes the estimation that the odds of him being able to own some young kid who doesn't really who's not as well versed as like Sam, who's been a political commentator for decades now, I mean, same thing with Ethan. Ethan's got a huge subscriber base, but why did Crowder decide to debate Ethan? My estimation is because even Ethan himself says he was going to be out of his element. There was no point to it. Like, why would you debate someone who doesn't do those? Like, it's just kind of pointless. Like, you're only doing it to make yourself look good, but do you look good debating someone who says beforehand that this is not my forte? Like, I had 2 callers call in before with, about veganism and nuclear power. Yeah. And, I asked them questions because I was skeptical of some of their claims, but I can't debate them on that because it's not my area of expertise. And, it seems weird to try to flaunt that you are owning someone who's being forward with you, saying, "I don't know what I'm doing here," like Ethan did. But yeah, that's
a bit equivalent playing a game on easy, something like that. If you're really good at a game, playing on easy, you're just gonna smash everyone. Like it's not really a fair playing field if you are in control of everything going into that. If you're these people don't have fun to prepare and stuff like that. So
right.
It's a bit like you on Tim Pool, how they just came at you with all the stuff that you weren't going there to talk about, which was pretty weird.
I'm fine with that. I get it, and certainly to have topics beforehand is more helpful. But I've done many of these without topics beforehand. But really, the thing for me is like at first I really I chalked it up to, and I still do. Let me be clear. The laptop thing. But then I found out that, in 2020, Vosh, who's another leftist streamer, he went on the show. And I came to find out that just like how I did like a post show after my time on the Tim Pool show, Vosh in 2020 did his own post show on his channel after doing Tim's show. And I had a bunch of his fans reach out to me and say, if after the Tim Pool, I was on Tim Pool, say, you should go watch Vosh's breakdown of his time on Tim from 2020 because he said the same thing you did all these years later about how he also didn't bring a laptop because he had no idea he could bring one. And now, listen, I'm not saying like, a laptop changes everything, but, I certainly would have had data more easily available to me if I had a laptop. And, I still think it was a honest mistake. There was nothing purposeful there, but they should really tell their guests in advance that, hey, if you want to bring a laptop, you definitely should.
Yeah, definitely. Are you going to go back on?
If they'll have me, I'll be happy to. I've had another big right-wing show reach out to me to go on. I don't want to say who it is yet because it's not confirmed yet. I actually dropped the ball on getting back to them because I've been so busy lately. I did I had some family events come up with my kids, and then I did the Scam Economy Live last Thursday, and then because that happened, I'm now behind on getting podcasts up for my shows and everything, and then I have a day job as a reporter. But I'm gonna be on another show for sure. I guess I'm not gonna say who it is, but it's a Daily Wire show. So that should be coming up. But yeah, if Tim will have me again, for sure. I'm not I am open to talking to anybody, and anyone who wants to call into this show is totally welcome to. And I will, if it's an issue that I know something about and can have a debate about, I'll be happy to do that. If it's an issue I don't know about, I'll certainly be happy to ask you some skeptical questions like I did on the previous callers today. So yeah, I'm always open to any of it, honestly. I mean, to me, that's important. If we're not engaging, what's the point? What's the point? I mean, we could just throw shit at each other all day. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to engage with you and like, give you a high five if you're like saying something horrible about people. But, if you'll engage with me, I'll engage with you at a level of at least some sort of political discussion in the hopes of, again, I'm under no belief that I'm going to change the mind of the person I'm talking to. In fact, I don't think that at all. My hope is that even just one listener of their show goes, holy shit, I've never heard that before. I've never heard that perspective before. I'm going to check out some more people on the left or who are progressive. I don't even care if they don't check out me anymore. They just listen to other, just I want people to be able to know what they're consuming, get a feel of who they actually are based on what they hear, and like, I like what that person's saying. I think that's something good. That's for the betterment of society. That's what I believe. I want to get on board that and advocate for that to happen. If someone does that after I do one of these shows, just one person, that's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Yeah, well, they had definitely the most interesting ones that they have are when they have left-wing people on. Like they had, I forgot his last name, Daryl on, I think.
Oh, Daryl Davis.
Before you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if he's left-wing or anything, but he definitely changed my mind on his idea of reparations. Like, I live in New Zealand, so it's like nothing to do with me. But the way I thought about it before that, the way he explained it definitely changed my mind on it. And
what did he? I'm interested. I missed that episode. What did he say? I think Daryl Davis is someone who leans left. I don't know I know he's famous for, a quote unquote converting white supremacists. I'm skeptical of some of his claims there because later reporting came out on some of his success cases that say that some of these individuals who he claimed to have helped guide out of white supremacy actually are still white supremacists. They actually just are friends with Daryl Davis now. What did he? I'm interested to what was his argument that convinced you?
his argument was basically that Japanese people after the internment camps get reparations and Native Americans get reparations too. So he's saying, why don't the descendants of slaves get reparations? And Tim's basic point the whole time was just like, you shouldn't base it on race, but that isn't really based on race. It's based on something happening, if that makes sense.
Right. No. That's interesting too, because like he didn't really make the case like in terms of like he had to think up some like new idea or new like policy proposal. He literally just brought up like known history that you just, I guess, didn't hear because the media you consumed. And obviously being in New Zealand, I'm not expecting you to learn about, what we did here in New Zealand. I mean, here in America, we're certainly not taught any New Zealand history. Although I will say that my dad, as a child, spent a number of years living in New Zealand because I think his parents had work there. So, so I do have a familial connection to New Zealand, more so than most Americans. But yeah, I mean that's super interesting. That's something you heard for the first time from him, and that's great that he did that on Tim Pool's show. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, I mainly just wanted to hear about the sword, but yeah, it was great talking to you, man.
No, this was a really interesting conversation. I really appreciate you calling in. Yeah, the sword, apparently, one more thing about the sword. Apparently, it's made out of like, I don't like meteorite or something like that. He said something like that. It was made out of...
Dude, I swear they're like trash, man. They're like really bad. Like all this stuff, he's got like a pirate blunderbuss on his wall too. And it looks like the stuff you'd get at a head shop. Like, I don't know, they're like $30 swords and stuff. Like I don't understand how you have all this money and yeah, buy stuff like that. Like buy a sweet sword.
Well, I will say he definitely spent his money well when it comes to his home, the studio, the whole compound, as he calls it. I was astounded by the size of it. Honestly, it was quite impressive, and it's even somehow as big as it was.
He always brings them up. Always brings these swords up. Always brings the guns up, and it's like, come on, they're not that good.
Right.
They're going on about meteorite and stuff. It's
again, I'm not sure if it was meteorite. It was something. It was some like weird, crazy, like I feel like I'm coming back to some sort of outer space rock. But it was
Damascus.
I don't remember. But he claimed he had to clean it at least once a week, and he had some special like he took out like a I don't know, like a fucking cum rag. I don't know. He took out some rag, and he had some special cleaning fluid that he cleaned it with. And he would, he did the how you like clean a sword. It's sort of, it is a little like if I was intimidated, the way he was cleaning the sword is how you would intimidate someone, I guess. But I just looked at it as like, this is very weird to just meet somebody and he just goes right to cleaning the sword. But listen, I
think the funny thing is he thinks it's intimidating. Like he's definitely doing it for some reason. Like there's no reason you gotta do it exactly at that time. You can do that stuff on your own time, eh? Like it's not like he's cleaning the windows and they're wiping down the mics.
Right.
He's
Right.
down the media sword.
Right. I will say one thing that still baffles me to this day is maybe you are Tim Pool viewer. Did you know they were sitting at one big table?
I think when they got swatted, you saw it. Like
before that, though, do you recall? Because I will say this as someone who has watched Tim Pool episodes, but sporadically and mostly via clips, I would say. I always thought they sat at separate desks. Literally, I really did.
So where were you? Were you right? Are they like at the end or are they up half?
So it's a big like rectangular table. One chair fits on each of the shorter ends, and two chairs fit on either of the on the longer ends. And on the far side so I sat where I sat. I'm now looking at two chairs in front of me. One chair on my right, one chair on my left, and the one on my left is the furthest from me. And there is a chair next to me on my left. So Lydia is all the way the furthest solo chair towards my left at the end table. No one is sitting at my right at the end of the table. I am directly across from Tim. Next to Tim would have been Ian, but he wasn't there the day I was on, which I was actually very disappointed about. I thought that would have been extra fun and added another layer of, I don't know, interestingness. And then on my left, was Seamus, and I had preferred, honestly, for both of them to be in front of me. I didn't want Seamus. I even said something because at first Seamus was going to sit on to my right, so it was going to be me, across from me Tim, and then Seamus in between us both at that right side end table. And I was like, this is weird because I'm going to be looking at both of you. And I assumed Lydia was going to talk, but she didn't actually. But before the show, I assumed she would talk. And I was like, I don't want Lydia to sit all the way over there. And we're just having this little conversation. And she's going to feel like she's not going to interject because she's going to be so far away. And what I thought Seamus was going to sit next to Tim in Ian's chair. But then he just came over and sat next to me, which, made it a little bit more difficult to talk to both of them because Tim was mostly talking to me. So I had to basically look at Tim, talk to Tim. And then when Seamus would chime in, it would be like, I have to then turn over and, a new conversation would happen. It didn't, again, I'm not saying it affected anything. It would have been easier to just look at both of them at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Oh, well, I really appreciate talking to you, and I appreciate learning more about the sword, the meteor sword. It's very impressive term. I might pick up. Actually, I was watching a thing the other day about meteor swords before they could basically work the iron before people had figured out how to work iron, like in ancient times. So there's a couple examples of meteor swords before they could forge iron. But they didn't do anything special. They weren't any better than any other sword. So it's kind of an odd claim. I mean, I don't know. That's a bit nerdy. Sorry.
No, yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing. I honestly, like, I was never. I'm still. I mean, I haven't been and never have been into like stuff like that. Like I don't know. I guess my hobby is like I don't know, doing this. I mean, I like buying. When I do buy things, I like buying like streaming and video equipment. That's my thing. Like I don't own any like hobby type weaponry. I don't own any and it's not even because I'm like anti-gun. It literally just doesn't like even like the sword thing. I've never been like a knife guy. I know there's people who are into like knives. I don't know. It just never appealed to me. It just seems like sort of like what do they do?
It's definitely a type.
Yeah, it like just sits there. Like unless you're gonna actually go out there and like I don't know hunt. I mean, it just sits there. Like, what do you do with a knife when you're sitting home? Like, yeah, I don't know. Buy video games, man, or something like that. Do something. Get a hobby that you could actually do at home, right? I mean, if Tim goes out hunting, then that's fine. But I don't think he's using his samurai meteor sword to like slay deer. At least I hope he's not. That seems like it'd be quite gory.
I don't know if it'd get close enough, Like, I'm not even sure that he does that stuff. I seriously, from watching it, I feel like it's legit. Just there might be some interest, but it's. I don't feel like it's a genuine interest because I know that he wasn't always into guns and stuff like that. And I mean, it's kind of hard to say what is a genuine interest. It's kind of hard to define that. But to me, it does not seem at all like he's genuinely interested in it. He's posing a bit. That's a bit of my problem that I've seen lately. So it just seems very put on and odd. He's polishing swords in front of people coming on his show.
Yeah. It was interesting for sure. Thanks for the call. What time is it, by the way, in New Zealand?
I think it's about 5 o'clock over here.
Damn, your Friday is over.
5:05.
Your Friday is almost over.
Oh, I've still got the night, mate.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoy your Friday night. It's still wild to me. It's like it's Thursday night here. It's still Thursday night here, and you're about to have Friday night. Time zones are crazy, man. Have a great night, and I hope to see you on the show. Call into the show again. This was great. Really appreciate the call.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate you talking to me.
Take care.
All right. Take it easy. See ya.
Bye. That was great. I really enjoyed that. As you can tell by how long I went, because I wanted to end the show about an hour ago. All right, let me read the super chats. I'm hanging up Skype now. I think you all know Skype's not happening now. We're done with Skype. We got, let's see. We got Tokyo Hans with a super chat. Ooh, in yen, I believe, right? Unless you just sent me $2,000. This is definitely yen. Can I get a shout to my amazing boy who turned 1 last week? He sleeps through the night since 2 months. He also secured a position in Cameron's crypto mine, but is currently stuck outside the port of LA. Shout out to your son. Happy birthday. Let me give you a party favor here. Let's do one of these for your. Let's see. We got some interesting stuff here. What should I use? Let's do a DJ air horn. I don't want to be too loud because he's sleeping, right? And let's give him a party noisemaker for the birthday. And he's still a baby, so we'll give him a little bit of the...
Yeah, baby!
Happy birthday. My daughter just turned 3 last Tuesday. I wanted to post about it. And then that horrible school shooting in Texas happened. And I was like, I'll post her birthday pics next week. So I guess I'll post them tomorrow. I didn't want to that same day. Yeah. Chrissy Starsky with a super chat. How does one call you when you're free? Oh, I'm sorry, Chrissy. My bad. Any night I'm on, subscribe to the channel. I'm usually on Tuesdays, Thursdays. That's the regular days. But definitely subscribe. Message me when you want to call in next time. Basically, download Skype. Search Doomed Live, one word, Doomed Live, and just click call, and you'll be able to call in. I will take your call first. next time you call. Well, if you call in first, but I will bump you to the front of the line because I feel bad. You sent a super chat and everything, and I didn't see it till now. But I will take your call 100% next time, right away. Thanks, Chrissy. Ramble Ron with a super chat. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Ramble Ron. And for someone who's named Ramble Ron, you got straight to the point. Omega with a super chat. People need the best. The Speedwagon Foundation. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I'm sure when you sent it, there was some context. Tokyo Hans with another super chat. Matt, when is your Tokyo live show? Japan is probably that place that I'll always want to visit, but probably won't unless I get paid to go there, because from what I hear, it's a very expensive place to visit. And, you know, if I went to Tokyo, I'd have to bring the family. I would not travel to Tokyo without the kids. Ryan Lennon fan with a super chat. Send me the Discord link, please. Patreon's broken. Send me a message on Patreon. I gotta fix it. I fucked up. That's still my mess up if it's not fixed yet. Jeez. I'll get it to you, Ryan. Ito Tofu with a super chat. Thanks for the great convo. The org that's the vegan caller. The org I volunteer for is Slaughter Free LA. If any, that's the Instagram. I believe that's what you're saying. The IG, yeah, the Instagram username. And so Slaughter Free LA, one word. If anyone is interested in animal rights activism via local political action. Ezekiel Mordecai with a $10 super chat. Thanks, Matt. Well, thank you, Ezekiel. Or, yeah, that's your name, Ezekiel, right? Sam with a super chat. Sam Gadden with a super chat. Just sending me a super chat. No comment. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. And Donald James with a super chat. I love the way you talk to callers, Matt. Just listening to people is a skill all in itself. Oh, I appreciate that. I try. It is getting a little bit harder to do these super long calls when so many people are now calling in. But I'll try to do them for as long as possible. And I'll certainly do them when there's a caller like, the New Zealand call. Honestly, all the calls today were worth the longer call because everyone brought something interesting. Maybe I would have cut Grim a little bit shorter. Sorry, Grim, because we went too doomer. And I know that there's some but Grim, be a little bit more positive next time, and I'll be happy that we went long. Let me now thank the Twitch subscribers. Lancer Zeta with a subscription via Prime just 3 minutes ago. Jeez, just right there, live right there. And then Rob Rousseau with the raid earlier in the stream. Thank you, Rob. Really appreciated that. We got Dom3L resubscribe with Prime. Subscriber for 2 months. JL Warden with a subscription via Prime. Thank you. Tokyo Han subscribed via Prime too. Thank you. That was a few days ago. I usually with the Twitch Prime ones, I usually try to go back from the last show so I could make sure I thank everyone who I think I got everybody who subscribed since Tuesday's show on here of Doomed. And then now the patrons. Gotta thank the patrons. That's super. I can't do it without the patrons. And folks, it's my mic is now moving. As always, when it's a new month, that's when Patreon starts charging people. And we usually lose some people who have to unsubscribe due to financial reasons. We get card declines, which usually concerns me that people are also, that happens to also have financial difficulties. If you have financial difficulties, do not feel any pressure to subscribe to Patreon or continue your Patreon subscription. Take care of yourself and your family first. That's the most important. There's other ways you can support this show via, the Amazon Twitch Prime thing, telling people about it, sharing content, telling people to watch, whatever. Leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So that being said, if you can afford to be a Patreon subscriber, now is the best time to do it, as we lost a bunch of people. But let me thank those who we didn't lose. In fact, those who joined since the last show. Michael P., Nick W., Jeannie L., Dylan D., David M., and Na K. Thank you so much for your Patreon subscriptions. It really funds this show, keeps it going, keeps it growing. Obviously, the Super Chats and the Twitch Primes are huge helps too. But the Patreon, because it's a regular renewable subscription, I have some sort of baseline amount that I'm able to work with in terms of budgeting for the show. That's what I mean when I say that. For anyone who always wonders, why does he prioritize the Patreon? It's an automatic renewing subscription. Super Chats are a one-off. Twitch Bits are a one-off. The Amazon Prime subscription requires people to manually resubscribe. So undoubtedly people forget, or they have other streamers they watch that they'd like to share their freebie subscription with. I totally get that too. So patreon.com/MattBinder. For people who are still waiting for their Scam Economy sticker in the mail, their free Scam Economy sticker in the mail, I will be reaching out to you. I am super behind. I am so sorry. But I've not, you're going to get it. The delay is in getting it to you. You're going to get it. The stickers are sitting here. A number of people have already received them. I've been so busy with everything these past few weeks that I've been dropping the ball on going on huge shows with hundreds of thousands of viewers because I'm so behind on everything, and I need to just catch up and get on the level with everything. So they're coming. You're gonna get your stickers without a doubt. I would never do that. They're coming. Your freebies are coming. Also, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify if you haven't already. Huge help. Just search Doomed, search Scam Economy. If you've left a review on one and not the other, then you should leave a review on the one you haven't left a review on yet. Follow me on Twitter @MattBinder. I really hope you guys enjoyed the live show. I had a great time doing it, and I think the dynamics were really interesting and different. Folks. Some people didn't know how to get the stickers yet. All right, I still have leftover stickers. Let me show them to you. Even when I give them out to the people who haven't received them yet, who are due stickers, I have a few leftover still. I got to turn off the green screen for a second, so you'll see the green screen, so you can see these stickers. If you would like a sticker, I will send you a free Scam Economy sticker. It's still out of focus. It's the Scam Economy logo, album art, podcast cover art, whatever it's called. I will send you a free sticker. All you got to do is leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify and just give me a heads up. At first, I opened up just the patrons. Now that I know that even when I do get all the stickers out to the patrons, even the patrons I haven't gotten stickers to yet, now that I know there'll still be leftovers, I will now also open this up to non-patrons. If you leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, just give me reach out to me after you do so. Say, I left a review, and I'll ask for your information, your address, and I'll send you a sticker. Cool. All right, folks. That's the show. And we didn't really have a very Scam Economy-esque post-show, but, it was fun nonetheless. Need to do a little bit more crypto stuff on the post-shows. Fine. I'm not saying not do what we just did, just in addition to. Get more crypto stuff in these post shows. All right, everybody. I will see you all next time on Doomed and on Scam Economy. Have a great night. Wait. Who am I rating on Twitch? Who am I rating on Twitch? I'm not going to let these beautiful Twitch viewers go to waste. Who do I raid? Who should I raid? Give me someone to raid. Who's on right now? Someone who's worth raiding. Who's Nico? I like to raid people who will appreciate it. And I don't mean I mean like people who don't necessarily have large subscriber base. Nico's got just 100 people watching, but it's still let's do Nico. I did Conyer last time. I got one for Nico. Is Keffels on? How many? Keffels got a lot of people watching though. What is? I want to see what Nico's doing. It'll be Nico or Keffels. Here, let's make a vote out of it. Let's do a vote. Let's interactivity here before we go. Let me do a poll. Where is it? Where is this poll? Here we go. Let's do a poll. Who should I raid? And let's a minute. You got to be quick here on Twitch. Twitch.tv/MattBinder. Let's do it. Who should I raid? You got 1 minute. Get your poll results in. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Wait, is Nico just like one of those like VTuber streamers? I'm gonna do Keffels. I didn't realize we were gonna do a VTuber. I don't know how I feel about that. What is Nico talking about? Oh boy, I don't know about this. Quick, everyone vote Keffels. All right. I will abide by the poll. Oh my god. I don't know if my audience will enjoy this, but let's do it. I'm a man of my word. Let's set this up. All right. Well, here's something different. I hope you enjoy. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.